Hello there and a good morning. I am Emefa Akosia Adeti and I am bringing you the AM News today. Now we start with metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies who are making a strong argument for government to allow them to take full charge in managing their waste. Currently, a sanitation improvement package contract signed between government and the assemblies through the erstwhile Ministry of Sanitation has ceded waste management at the assemblies to waste management company Zoomlion. But during a working visit of Parliament's Committee on Sanitation and Water Resources, and the assemblies say Zoomlion has failed to deliver on the terms of the contract, especially lifting of waste containers over the period. James Aboagye was with the team in our reports.
Parliament's Committee on Sanitation and Water Resources has begun a 3-day fact-finding mission to the MMDAC in the Greater Accra region to understand why the assemblies are not able to manage waste in the capital. It emerged during separate presentations by the assemblies that an ongoing sanitation improvement package contract signed between government and assemblies through the dissolved Ministry of Sanitation has ceded a chunk of the work to waste management company Zoomlion without their input. Here's Metropolitan Coordinating Director of AMA, Douglas Anofo.
At that meeting, it became obvious that they should have met us before the signing would have been done. But I only had the option of just signing because after I was told I'm just a witness. And so whether I sign or not, the agreement is being signed. So that's what unfortunately happens.
Similar frustration was echoed by managers at the Koleklote Assembly and Ayawasu North, who raised concerns over Zoomlion's failure to fully execute the terms of the agreement. For instance, only 3 out of the 15 designated collection sites under the AMA are clean, with refuse containers emptied. The rest 12, according to the Assembly's checks, as of Sunday, April 13, 2025, are in a mess, when a number of them do not have any container on site. Metro Public Health Director of AMA, Florence Kuchi, says the contract must be decentralized.
If you are not a department in the assembly level, you are a unit under the central administration. And when there is budget, the budget goes to the central administration. And when you go to the central administration, priority is given to projects that they want to carry out. So always what I say is, central government should put more priority on the environmental health officers. Give the environmental health officers resources. Give them the needed logistics that they need. And just give them some few short period and see whether we will see whatever we are seeing within the communities. The neglect of the environmental health officers is what we are seeing in the communities. And that is impacting with the diseases outbreaks that we are having.
Director of Waste Management at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Engineer Solomon Noy, also revealed that all assemblies are compelled to send their waste to the eastern region because all landfill sites in the Greater Accra region are full and a possible disease outbreak cannot be ruled out.
If we collect the waste from Accra, one point, we think we are sending it far away. But it is not far because it is not an engineered landfill site. There is no leachate control. So for instance, if it rains, the leachate from that dam site finds its way into depressions and rivers, and they come back to us in the city.
Here's Chairman of the committee, John Oti, Bless's position on the Assembly's concerns.
I believe every contract has clauses, and there are implications in suspending or cancelling government contract. So the only thing is that we'll hammer in the points, draw government's attention, meet the service provider. As a committee, we're going to invite the service provider. We'll meet with him and caution and make it clear to him that he should put his feet down and begin to change his ways. So we believe that things will change from now on. Once we are on the ground with you guys, we'll make a lot of impact.
The committee's tour continues on Tuesday. James Aboagye's report for Joy News.
And away from sanitation, the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapua, has disclosed that 50% of the total power losses recorded by the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, what you know as NEDCO, is from the northern sector, with 70% of that figure concentrated in Tamale alone. Now, he attributed the bulk of the loss to the power theft, something he said was a huge challenge facing NEDCO. The minister said this when he paid a working visit to the area.
NEDCO in recent times has raised concerns over illegal connection, especially during peak hours. The company says most of its losses can be attributed to power theft. Speaking to the media after meeting with stakeholders and inspecting some projects under construction, the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, said the illegal connection in the Tamale area was way above the norm. The Energy Minister called on the people to cooperate during the revenue mobilization.
One of the major problems we are facing in the NEDCO area has to do with the northern sector. Indeed, when you look at the losses within the northern sector, over 50% of the losses alone is attributable. Within the NEDCO area, over 50% is attributable to the northern sector. And within the northern sector, over 70% comes from Tamale. So it means that we're having huge losses in what you call the ATCC losses. We've met the regional minister. We've also met all the stakeholders to let them understand that without revenue, it will be very difficult to complete projects such as this. This project is being undertaken on the back of the balance sheet of NEDCO. And so if they don't get the revenues, they will surely not be able to supply the power. Illegal connection in Tamale is way, way, way above the norm. And so because you have a transformer, literally speaking, that should serve 10 people, because of illegal connections, it's serving 14 people, which leads to system overload, it leads to tripping, it leads to unreliable supply of power. So it's in the interest of the people of Tamale, especially the law-abiding ones, to support us to stop these illegal activities.
Mr. John Jinapor also paid a courtesy call on the Northern Regional Minister. During deliberations, the Northern Regional Minister, Adolf John Ali, appealed to the minister for a wider consultation before the exercise.
I don't condone with illegalities. NEDCO told me about some of the challenges that they have. Some people are engaged in illegal connections. And I've made it abundantly clear. Yesterday, I had the opportunity of meeting the assembly members. I told them, I'm not going to condone with any illegality. It is an appeal I am making to NEDCO, taking into consideration where you have just come from less than a month ago, and somebody coming to you to look for money. They shouldn't take it as if it's a year that I'm asking for permission from them.
The project engineer at the Lamashegu site, Ajinfoko Amos, said the Lamashegu stop station, when completed, will enhance power supply.
We needed to have a plan B to ease the constraint on Chogu, which is BSP1. There is a current BSP2 at Adubiyile. So we are picking the power from there and then bring it to Lamashegu to enhance the power, or in other words, create a place where we can reliably get a power supply. And that's gave birth to this project called the Lamashegu project. So as we speak, from where we came from, Adubiyile, we are picking a 34.5 kV power and transfer it from there to Lamashegu through a tower line. So we have about 72 towers, a span of about 12 kilometers to Lamashegu.
Now, still on power theft, the Northern Electricity Distribution Company has uncovered a more sophisticated illegal connection done by the Da Dingbe Suites, a hotel in Tamale. Now, the hotel with over 20 rooms, all with air conditioning, had been under the radar of NEDCO after they noticed a bizarre trend of power consumption. The authorities said that at one point, the hotel was consuming just 1 cedi power, which was strange considering the quantum of power that the transformer was drawing to the hotel, confirming their suspicion.
Authorities of NEDCO have described the power theft at the Dadingbe suite as a more complex form of power theft it has uncovered. 50% of NEDCO's losses is in the northern sector, and 70% of that loss is found in the Tamale metropolis. NEDCO continues to raise concerns over illegal connections in the area. Speaking to the media, the corporate communications manager of NEDCO, Maxwell Kutuka, said the hotel had buried the cables tapping the power from the transformer, but also designed a complex switchover where they are able to steal power on without being noticed.
An alternate connection to your generator. You switch over to the genset when you are sourcing power from the genset, and then you switch back to the grid when you are on the grid. In this case, it is on the grid when they have mercy on us, and then when they decide to do their own thing, presumably during the peak hours, then they switch to their own sub-generation, which is a sub-distribution, which is illegal. And it is very important to acknowledge that as they do all this, we observed over time that they were not buying power. There were instances where within a whole week, whatever they bought was some pittance, 500 cedis or less. Meanwhile, we are aware of the quantum of power that gets to the place. And so our technical team and commercial teams had been observing over time and detected that there were even instances where this huge building was consuming 1 cedi of power. We have been monitoring for a while. It's been over weeks, but we just needed to be sure what exactly was happening, because it was beating everybody's imagination how a structure like this with this number of air conditioners would be consuming, in some cases, 1 cedi a night.
Mr. Kutuka said the matter had been reported to the police for the law to take its course. He said the hotel was also stealing power for its construction works on an adjoining facility.
The other side of the building, there's some significant construction work going on. It will entail the cutting of concrete and breaking of walls to be able to insert their pipes and to fix their cables. Naturally, that is not done with manpower. The police will carry the matter through from there. Investigations will continue, and we will work along with you throughout. It is our expectation that the law will be followed to the letter.
The government is set to make payments to compensate landowners of 20,000 acre site earmarked for the $12 billion Petroleum Hub project in the Jomoron municipality of the Western region. The project, which began under the Akufo-Addo administration, is expected to transform Ghana's energy sector and create over 700 jobs. There's more in the following report.
President John Dramani Mahama has reaffirmed his commitment to advancing the Petroleum Hub project in the Western region. Originally initiated by the previous government, the initiative is expected to play a key role in Ghana's industrial and economic development. As part of efforts to update traditional authorities on progress, the Chief Executive Officer of the Hub, Dr. Tony Obin, led a delegation to the Western Nzima Traditional Council.
The compensation has always been the challenge of the hub. Thankfully, the new leadership is working assiduously to ensure that some beginning is seen in the payment of compensation. I cannot put my finger on time, but I know that we are far advanced in trying to get some resources to do that.
The project's first phase will include a 300,000 barrel per day refinery and a 90,000 petrochemical plants, large-scale storage infrastructure, and a modern jetty and port facilities. Dr. Obin emphasized the massive job creation, potential, and economic impact of the projects.
We really appreciate the overwhelming support we received from Wulaya Noje and the chiefs. In fact, everybody was excited about the project and they want the project to go forward. And like leaders of everywhere, they spoke about jobs for their people, for their youth, which is very true. So what we did, and that's been the plan, is to actually begin by providing training for the youth of this area. Because you see, when the hub comes into effect, they will need, a lot of people to work with, especially some with some technical skills, fabrication engineer, fabrication technicians, instrumentation technicians, and other people, building, civil engineers and all that. So, but we have to prepare ourselves. If something is coming to your house and you don't prepare, you realize that when it comes to your house, you will not have a role to play.
Traditional leaders of the Western Nzima Traditional Council have pledged their full support to the project, indicating their readiness to cooperate with governments.
I did be Dr. Nini pray for me here or Western Nzima. You are ever ready, say, the support. I'm a the end, and I'm going to say, she say, I say, I bind only a tenacity, no, not sign share a marshal, no more bind the assassin, while general Mrapan so. Go for assassination. Say Elson, say Elson, names are by General. We are giving you our 100% support. My Jumano, Emrasho.
With compensations, plans underway and construction phases outlined, the Petroleum Hub project is one step closer to becoming a reality. Reporting for Joy News in Athalia, Kwanza, Western Region.
Now, the chairman of the Upper West Parliamentary Caucus and vice chair of Parliament's Health Committee, Dr. Sebastian Sandari, says plans are underway to establish a School of Medical Sciences at the Simon Diadon Dambo University of Business and Integrated Development, that is. He also hinted at upgrading the Upper West Regional Hospital into a teaching hospital. Dr. Sandari made the remarks during a working visit by the regional caucus to the university, stressing that the initiative will expand access to medical education. Reporting from Wa, Joy News' Rafiq Salam.
The visit of the Upper West Region's Parliamentary Caucus to the Simon Diadon Dambo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies SDDU bids is to interact with management of the university and acquaint themselves with the challenges they face with a view to forwarding them to the appropriate institutions for them to take the necessary actions. Vice Chancellor of SDDU bids, Professor Emmanuel Drebile, disclosed to the Parliamentary Caucus the plethora of challenges that the university is grappling with, which included the delay in the payment of seed fund for the university.
It is simply one of those windows that we can use to promote equity and ensure that new universities can get the kind of investment that they want.
Another challenge mentioned was the listing of uncompleted projects dotted all over the campus, which the university would like to be completed to enable them increase not only enrollment but relocate faculty officers that are operated outside the university community.
You drove in, you'd have seen a number of these projects. Some of them are 15 years old and still uncompleted. Our library was commissioned, in fact, the sword cutting ceremony was done by the late President John Atta Mills. So you can imagine how old some of these projects are. And so from the current estimates, we require about 178 million to complete these projects. I must say that we have since submitted a request after a meeting with the Minister for Education for his consideration of these uncompleted projects.
Chairman of the Upper West Region's Parliamentary Caucus, Dr. Sebastian Sandari, pledged to forward the challenges to the appropriate authorities for them to be tackled head-on. Dr. Sebastian Sandari, who is the Vice Chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, was happy about plans to establish School of Medical Sciences at the university, which he said is a priority of the people and the government.
And we want everybody to know that it is a priority for this university. It is a priority for the people of the Upper West region to have a medical school. When we went to the regional hospital, it was expressed because that's a regional hospital at the level of a teaching hospital. And I knew I was part when we were considering the budget for the health sector.
Business update, and Mr. Akako is definitely on standby to bring you some business updates. Mr. Akako.
Let's dig into the stories now. And the Minerals Commission says it remains open for further engagements with mining firm Goldfields over the termination of the mining lease of the Damang mines. Now, the termination of the mining lease has sparked discussions about the future of mining in Ghana and the need for clarity on the regulatory framework governing the industry. Speaking to Joy Business, Deputy CEO of the Minerals Commission, Isaac Andrews Tandor, said their willingness to engage with Goldfields could help to shed light on the government's position and provide a way forward for the company and other stakeholders.
When we met with the minister together with Goldfields, he gave them the opportunity to say, if you have any better proposition, go and sit down with Minerals Commission for them to agree that, yes, this is good for Ghana. And then we can engage further. Nothing has been brought forward. So as far as I'm concerned, their lease is gone. They did not declare any reserve. They did not put together any program for operation concerning the extension that they want. So this cannot be granted just like that. It cannot be business as usual going forward. Ghana deserves better.
So you can confirm to us that as it stands now, they've not engaged you on that?
As far as I'm concerned, no.
Do I get the impression that the door is shut on this issue about Goldfields getting the Damang mines back?
I mean, we are a national government. We are still talking. But as I said, any decision taken on this will be in the interest of Ghana, not anybody else. We deserve better.
Let's head now to Accra Newtown, where some printing businesses are reeling under the weight of rising electricity tariffs and erratic power supply, with industry leaders calling on the government to urgently address what they describe as a growing crisis threatening their operations. They have been speaking to Joy Business.
Sometimes it goes off, you call them, gradually they come and fix it, it keeps going off. And that one alone scares customer away because you can't meet timing. Then after that one too, the little you have that you've collected to do, you buy more tariff, you work and that's it. You don't have anything left. The situation here, if government can work on the tariff for us, it will be very good to us. Already we are facing challenge in production. Cost of production gets high because all the time materials get more expensive. So if you are buying more expensive materials, buying more prepaid, then you end up with nothing. Yeah, so we are pleading to the government of the day. They should try and help us. We are really, really struggling. We sometimes get job and doing it becomes a very big challenge. When you do your calculation, it's like you shouldn't even do at all. And that's all that we came here to do.
It has affected us a lot because due to the tariff, we have increased our prices of printing. And you see that the customers too, it's like they want to print, but because the cost is high, they cannot afford it. So, and beside that, the light too is not stable. It has been going off and on. And the whole thing is, I'm actually surprised. Anytime the NDC will come to power, we get power problems. So I would like to use this opportunity to tell the government to do something about the power, because the way we are getting off and on and the tariffs is going on too is affecting us a lot.
And that's how we cap off our business update. Emefa Akosia Adeti is trying to be mischievous this morning, and I'm handing over back to her.
I'll stay guided and guarded, Mr. Akapo. But that'll be all for the AM news for today, but please stay for news review.
Well, here we go with the news review, and joining us, Victoria Bright. We all call her Vicky Bright. She's a lawyer and entrepreneur. And of course, she served at one point as a deputy minister and also legal advisor to John Ejekum Kufuor, yes, former president. And we also have another former president here, though, of the Ghana Journalists Association. And I'll not add the R in there. Afeo Money is our second guest. Good morning, lady and gentlemen.
Morning.
As the Americans will say, y'all are looking fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start with you, Afeo Money. What are your quick thoughts for us this morning? Anything you'd like to reflect on?
My brief take is on the constitutional discourse.
Okay.
To sack or not to sack the Chief Justice, the leadership, Arba Tokonu. The point can hardly be articulated. That this is a hypersensitive issue, which can have far-reaching implications for the independence of the judiciary, for the rule of law, and for our democracy. As in all consequential and even inconsequential cases, this issue has been subjected to political football. And it's not unusual for MPP and the NDC commentators to analyze this issue, comment on this issue from their blinkered partisan stances.
To make it political, even
to make it political, yeah, to make it political, yeah. So, exactly. So, my take is to appeal to both sides to tone down the excessive politicking and tone up the strictest application of rule of law, rooted in fairness, to ensure that at the end of it all, justice will be manifestly seen to have been done in this case.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for your initial thoughts. I don't know whether you have any reaction to that, you being a legal luminary yourself. I don't know whether...
Oh, no, I just think the rule of law should prevail. That's
the rule of law should prevail.
Yeah, it should be devoid of anything else.
Have you seen anything so far that does not point to the rule of law?
Well, so far we don't really know much, do we? So other than what we've seen in the press. So let's just wait for all the facts to come out, and then, we'll see how it's handled. And after that, we'll be in a better position to comment, I think, early on this. Any
quick thoughts you'd like to share with us this morning?
Yeah, I think I was very surprised, actually, to find out the amount of plastic pollution in our sea, and the impact it's actually having on all of us. I learned from watching this documentary that on average, each Ghanaian injects into their system approximately 5 grams of plastics every week. And apparently this is the size of a credit card. So we're all ingesting this. And then, of course, there are all sorts of health implications affecting hormones and fertility, not to mention the risks of accidents at sea because they get caught under the motorboats. And I mean, it was quite eye-opening. There was a lady from the Ministry of Science, Environment and Technology telling us all of this. And these days, the fishermen seem to catch more plastics than fish when they go out to sea. So I think we need to reflect on that.
Well, interesting thoughts. And nowadays, microplastics, nanoplastics, all of them finding their way into different organs of our bodies. God help us. But thank you for those reflections. Let's get into the papers now.
Absolutely, Ben.
You have the Ghanaian Times.
Yes. Let's start with the Ghanaian Times, Ben. So the first one, which is the biggest one, in front of the Ghanaian Times this morning is close down witch camps.
Yes.
I know.
Followed that story yesterday.
Yeah, and the country director of Amnesty International, obviously, when they launched the reports yesterday, Genevieve Partington is the one who's still, still drumming home this part about witch camps, which is a conversation that we started. And every time we talk about witch camps, really, you won't forget the harrowing experience of the 90-year-old Ikadente. And before we go into the details of that, let me bring you this one as well. The President, John Dramani Mahama, addresses Kwewu Business Forum April 19th. That's just the weekend coming. I know.
I just had to do that. I couldn't help myself. I like the way they sold it. Over time, it was people just randomly, Yanko Kwewu. And then they were, okay, so do you know what it does for the economy of Kwewu? Every Easter and other. So then people latched onto it and made it, what it is, and paragliding and everything. Right. I think they've sold it. If many communities did that in Ghana, It would be interesting. And I think that the other one I saw recently was the Ebri area. What's his name? Samuel Uku.
Okay.
You know, his constituency is somewhere.
It has the Safari Valley.
The Ophir Market.
Oh,
thing.
right.
That was also interesting.
Oh, yeah,
but anyway.
yeah. Victoria, have you been to Kwewu yet? Have you been to any of the Kwewu
yes,
Easter?
Yes.
Oh, you have?
It's a while back, though.
Okay, okay.
To go again.
Okay. Now, so 4 suspected armed robbers killed in gun battle with the police. The details of that is on page 3. I just might bring you that a bit later. But leveraging AI to protect lives, building resilience for future pandemic as well. Page 6 of the Ghanaian Times. Auditors must exercise high professional standard to protect public purse. Professor Amati is speaking to us as well and is on page 13. That's just by way of cap on the Ghanaian Times. We just might go into the details a bit later, Benjamin.
Oh, I think we can.
We can. Okay. So in the middle page of the Ghanaian Times, as we've just started the conversation on the closing down of witch camps, which the Amnesty International believes that they're a symbol of societal neglect. Maybe I'll go to Mr. Money to I don't know, over the years as journalists we have reported on witch camps, especially in the northern part. Unfortunately, women who have lost their lives through that cultural, shall I say, is embedded with them. We've reported it. We've seen a little progress because then the stories have come out. But for you, how much more do we need to do for us to entirely really close them down? Or is there a way we can still manage it if there's anything called management?
As I said, little progress has been made, and this reinforces the need to activate the principles of comprehensive journalism. In comprehensive journalism, once you start a story, you don't go to sleep, you come back. If promises have been made, you match the promises against delivery. If there's a shortfall, then you hold those who are supposed to deliver accountable. So most often we allow inconsequential issues to dominate the media space instead of tackling issues like witch camps. Children who are subjected to all kinds of indignities, women, on the mere allegation that they are witches and all that. So it's not too late. We can go back. We can prompt the media, so the media institutions, to sharpen their focus on this issue and hold to account people who are supposed to deliver freedom for those who are subjected to all kinds of indignities in the witch camps.
Victoria, I'll come to you, and especially because the Amnesty International is very focused on human rights, and because you're also a lawyer, I've just been thinking that for such cultural practices, coexisting with human rights, if you look at the nature of our culture in this country, is this something you think that the Amnesty International, all other relevant bodies, can really champion for us to rule it out entirely, closing down witch camps and looking at how people believe so much in their culture and tradition? How can human rights really come to play here?
Yeah, I think for me, any interventions, whether from Amnesty International or legally or any form of interventions that will stop this horrific act are very, very welcome. It has to be uprooted from our society. And sometimes we do things in the name of cultural norms. And even though I guess some people actually believe these things, we need to strengthen the methods of educating people and also enforcement. I mean, it is about human rights, as you said, MFA. And your human rights cannot triumph over mine. You know, we are all equal. And I think people need to realize that in doing this, they are actually robbing people of their human rights. And that cannot be allowed to persist. We have to stop this. And, you know, every now and then it's all whipped up into a frenzy. We all say how appalled we are. And then everyone keeps quiet and goes about their business. And then they carry on with the practices. So we really ought to do something different. We cannot keep doing the same things over and over again. So, yes, if Amnesty International can help us, why not?
Well, Benjamin, you know that we really cannot do our news review without going to Bawku just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. And
even before you go to Bawku, just briefly on this witch camp situation. It's really sad because I have checked and checked, and it appears Ghana is the only country in the world that has these witch camps. I mean, you could go back to Salem.
Interesting.
You could go back to the Salem witch hunts
Exactly.
and all of that. But from time to time, you check, and it appears. I mean, I stand corrected. But the issue too is, you mentioned Equiadente.
Yeah.
The issue too is that in some instances, these people are tortured, literally. And the only place they can escape to is the witch camp, where they will not be, harmed physically or something of the sort. So I also ask myself, I totally agree, witch camps should be a thing. It's even a slur on our country. But then
Exactly.
since we've not dealt with the issue, the act has still not been, made a law, the anti-witchcraft bill and all of that. So what then happens in the interim to people who may still be affected? Where do they go? We don't have centers. Where do they go? Do you get it? So that's my concern. I agree with Genevieve is someone I know. I agree with her. But in the interim, where do these people go? That's the problem.
So
what happens to them?
Yeah, so instead of, the fact that they are running into these camps for refuge, to seek refuge, means that there is a missing link somewhere.
Exactly.
So rather than them that's an act of serious desperation. If that's the only way you can...
That's the last resort.
Exactly, it's the last resort. So if centers have to be built to accommodate these women, and why is it always women anyway?
Sometimes there are men.
Yeah, but there are so few.
But if you look at the proportion,
there's so few and far
significant,
between. It's mostly women.
Well, would you nurse the idea of refurbishing or renovating these centers so they have potable water, amenities, things that can at least facilitate their stay in these camps, especially in situations where Benjamin just raised, where they don't feel safe in the communities, and where they're feeling safe is the camp? Should we consider making sure that these camps, instead of maybe rebuilding a whole new facility for them, these camps should be re-looked at and restructured? It's something we can nurse.
I think we should stop.
Completely.
Yes. We should stop and maybe change the buildings, refurbish them or something. We don't need to do new structures. But that whole label of which, these witch camps and witchcraft and people, we need to stop that. Because it's victimization, pure and simple. And people, people will do what people will do. They will use it to their own benefit. And we've seen so many, and we've all watched the documentaries, and we've seen so many examples of just pure victimization, I wouldn't say legalized, but the kind of victimization which is not frowned upon, because they can kind of justify it in the name of witchcraft, and that is just not acceptable. So we have to stop the whole idea of witch camps completely. And if they are going to be converted to refuge camps, then fine. But we do need something for these women to seek refuge in, and which are not labeled as witch camps.
Right.
Right. The label and the time has come to also
That's
scale
the
up
problem,
advocacy.
yes.
Okay.
To ensure that the law really takes its root and implements it to the letter, because the idea of refurbishing the witch camps should go in tandem with strong advocacy rooted in law. So again, back to comprehensive journalism, we need to go back, push officialdom to ensure that this law sees the light of day.
Benjamin, you would find that the community actually protects the perpetrators. It's hard to actually fish out these people who...
The video you speak of Equiadente, how you would see a large crowd, kind of like the situation with the stoning of Stephen in the Bible.
Yes.
Large crowd there, Paul, guarding people's clothes. And some would say Saul, but Saul was always Paul. It's just that one was his Hebrew name and the other was his Roman name. He was always the same. And you see that situation there, similar.
Yeah, sure.
It means there is, what's the word? There's a word I'm looking for. But there is consent. There is agreement among them, whether you are watching. Because if certain acts are perpetrated
yes.
and you are there, let's say an armed robber is being stoned and all of that, and you are in the vicinity and you may say, oh, I'm just standing here, but the law could, you
may have a better or you may have conspired some way, somehow.
And a better in a way. But the little bit, you mentioned legal, you mentioned law.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, you can't go to any court and prove that someone is a witch.
Sadly.
Yeah.
See, that's what people don't. In law, we deal with facts.
Yeah.
How do you prove that Benjamin Akako is a wizard?
It's a wizard.
See, so if it goes to court, you will lose poto. But people take it into their hands and culturally just abuse people. And it's a problem. Once you grow to a certain age, they label you. If unfortunately you've not attained certain heights in society, then, if people are getting sick around you and stuff, she's the cause. And the pastors and sometimes some of the other, we have to look at them too, because they give false messages. This person is this, when they've seen nothing.
Is this table strong enough? The table you're shaking, is it strong enough?
It's not just the pastors, but there are the others.
Mr. Money, you're about to make a point.
Just a brief reference to Paul in the Bible. And Paul admitted eventually that he acted in ignorance. So some of these cultural practices are rooted in ignorance. This is not to condemn into our cultural practices, but some are really negative, some are really anti-human. And these are practices. These are practices we should target and eliminate with all the force we can marshal.
It'll be a good time. Maybe let's stay up north, and particularly in Bawku. Yesterday, Benjamin, Professor Ening, and some security analysts believe strongly that apart from and beyond this fight, are not just becoming a Bawku fight, but is the country's entire fight. He believes strongly that there are persons who fuel it, who are not in Bawku. The persons who don't live in Bawku, who finance it, who encourage that this kind of fight and misunderstanding that's happening up north is happening. And I struggle to understand that concept, really. If you can break it down for me, how that can be a possibility where we're living in the Accra, the southern part, and yet we're finding ways and means to fuel such conflicts up the regions. I want to understand what that means.
Politics has also been blamed for the chronic fighting in Bawku. True, the weapons which are used to fight this war origin from Accra and outside this country. Resources also come from Accra, Kumasi, because there are forces behind, powerful, formidable forces behind this war. And in appealing for peace and calm, I think we also target these forces. And this is a time to aim at ending this war from the root and not the branch. The branch approach has been to appeal to the forces, appeal to various parties to ceasefire and only to go back for and then for the war to reignite. So this time around, everybody who has a role to play in this war should be targeted. And we believe in the Solomonic wisdom of Asahene to help resolve this issue. I know it's so chronic and deeply rooted, but by dint of faith and support, I believe Asahene will make a dent and peace will, for once, be restored to that area.
Well, so the story is on page 3 of the Ghanaian Times. And Victoria, so following the killing of the 2 policemen and also 1 civilian, the police actually released a statement and said that they suspect armed robbery. They suspected that the killings may have been by armed robbers. And then yet people also believe that it's linked to the conflict happening in Bawku. And this happened particularly in Binduri. And then the question then now is, if the police says that it is armed robbery, then we might as well separate this from the conflict that's happening in Bawku. There's only so much you can say, because then you're relying on the police as to whether it is indeed linked to the Bawku conflict. And if it's indeed linked to Bawku conflict, what does it mean? Because this will be 2 security persons that have been killed. And what does this really mean? Does it change the dynamics at all in the fight against the misunderstanding happening in Bawku? That 2 policemen, though they were not in uniform, though they were not performing their regular duties, and yet they identified as policemen, what does it mean to the entire fight?
I think, look, any loss of life is always very regretted because we are all Ghanaians. And so, you know, someone loses their life in Bawku as a Ghanaian, and from a human point of view, it's tragic. That person has family, you know, loved ones, etc., etc. And it's very sad that these are police officers. And it doesn't matter whether they were on duty or they were not on duty. The fact remains that they were police officers and they have lost their lives. Whether it or not is armed robbery, I guess we will not know. We'll have to take the word of the police for that. But I'm sure there are skeptics there who are probably questioning that conclusion, if indeed it is a conclusion. My understanding is that they are still investigating the matter. And I think the IGP visited the area not too long ago and gave them assurances that he's taking this extremely seriously and he will get to the bottom of these killings. So that is to be welcome. Also, you know, we also have the initiative by Otumfuo, led by Otumfuo, to do the mediation there. I think they've already had 1 round of talks and they will continue, I believe, next week or very soon. So we need to, at the end of the day, we want peace. And geographically, where it's located, it's imperative that we have peace, not just for us as Ghanaians, but because we don't want it to lead into something bigger than what it is now. It also affects the lives of the youth, mostly, and the youth are the future of the nation. So it's really important that we learn to coexist. I mean, Ghanaians have never really been tribalistic in the sense of other African countries. We intermarry, you know, everybody has practically got at least 3 or 4 different tribes in their family. You know, I have everything, you know, in my family. So we don't dwell on religion. We don't have those issues here. And we really don't want to have those issues because we've seen what has happened to our neighbors who have had those issues. And it can really, really lead a state down a very downward spiral, which Ghana really does not want to get into. So I'm praying that the efforts of the IGP, the efforts of Otumfuo, and all the people who are committed to bringing peace in this area, I'm really praying that they succeed for all of our sake.
What I find curious is, you know, the recent assault on the IGP's car.
Yes.
When a shot was fired, what was the intent?
Yes.
He had been there pleading, no matter how bad the situation. He had been there begging, literally.
Yes, for peace.
And when his convoy was leaving, there was a shot at it. I keep saying that, look, we always say the community we're fighting for, it doesn't matter, they are Ghanaian, whether Mampusi or Kusasi and all of that. But I think it's really getting out of hand.
Certainly.
We have so many problems in this country.
Yes.
Sometimes political misleadership, not following development plans, corruption, galamsey. But right now, from where I sit, if you asked me, I would say that if you looked at Ghana's top 10 problems, I would put the situation in Bawku in that.
Yes, certainly, yes.
Because this can easily spill over, become... And interestingly, the countries surrounding us, many of them have faced terrorists, you know, scourges. I don't know why we are sitting. It's a ticking time bomb, and we're just waiting. Because if it gets out of hand, which it is getting out of hand, the whole country suffers.
Yes. You can't say you're sitting in Accra and it doesn't affect you, because these things have a way of just going viral. So we need to be careful. And if we need to bring in the military to assist, then so be it.
Yeah, that bit. The military, well, the conversation, oh no, this shouldn't be, the peace of others shouldn't be the military's responsibility. We should leave it to the police. And also another theory is to suggest that they think that the military will do a good job.
You know, but over the years, the conflict has defied military solution. So there's a need to look at other alternatives. No.
So the MP for Binduru yesterday mentioned that on what he will describe as a good day, there would be at least 2 loss of lives. But on a bad day, there's about 5 or more in a day.
Why does that have to be the case?
No.
But anyway, we can hope and pray, but we must also work. We have about 8 minutes thereabouts to get into the stories. Let me come to you, Vicky. Give us the headlines briefly and then walk us through a few of your stories.
Okay, so we have, I have the Overseer newspaper. It's the Kwao Forum will propel growth, which is, I think MFA mentioned that too. Atuforsin elected chairman of ECOWAS Investment Bank at the 23rd AGM. Government to give $1 million to peasant farmers for vegetable production. And then the PMMC era ends as Gold Board now takes full control. So those are my headlines. There's something also about the Doom Fire, a donation from the minority, and calling for government action. And then the new government statistician, Dr. Alhassan Idrisu.
A quick thought on the Doom Fire. So I hear some of the people they are coming back to the very place where some are saying, don't go back. That's all I want to say. It's really interesting how, I mean, you can't solve a problem if you keep doing the same things, can you? But anyway, let's get into the details.
No, yes. I mean, the whole area needs to be obviously rebuilt and reorganized. But they have a living to earn, so it's difficult.
And we help them earn a living. Because look, God forbid, God forbid, it can set up all of this again.
Yes.
And it's not that it happens all the time in our markets.
Yeah.
So you set up again, you lose again, you set up again, you lose again, and then it's always
it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So PMMC, I think, is probably definitely one of the biggest stories going on at the moment. PMMC is over. Gold Board is here, and they're here to stay. And I think that we've heard in the last few weeks why the Gold Board was set up, etc., etc. We hope that it does exactly what it's been set up to do. We all know of the corruption in our gold, right from the pits all the way through to export. You know, the whole value chain has been seriously corrupt. And a lot of our gold finds itself outside our shores, particularly in Dubai. You go to a souk in Dubai and they tell you, oh, Ghana, you're from Ghana. Oh, this is all Ghana gold. You know? And I guess they are saying it for you to feel proud, but you're like, oh my God, you know, because you know most of that has been, taken out of the country not in the right way. So let's hope that it does the objective of tightening regulatory control of our gold, and also it reduces the smuggling and ensures that we benefit fully from our gold. There is a transition period. Foreigners, are being given till the 30th of April to buy, export whatever they want to export by then. So that is it's a short transition window, but they do have that window. And also they've changed the currency to just pure Ghana cedis, so at the BOG rates. So I think, that should hopefully help us with our foreign exchange issues as well. So look, we wish them all the best, and I really, we need it to work. And let's hope that corruption does not creep in, because that's always the monster that destroys this country. And every public institution has the potential to be corrupt. So let's just pray that this one doesn't go down that route, that it takes its mandate extremely seriously. I mean, I've heard Sami Jemfi talking about it, and he seems, to be very passionate about it. And it's clearly something that's very dear to the government's heart, and they are determined to make this work. So let's hope that what they are saying is actually what happens. And we wish it has to work, basically, for all of our sakes, because gold is one of our big export mineral resources. And we need it to work, and we need the money to be in Ghana rather than everybody else coming from everywhere and doing. And henceforth as well, one other change is that only Ghanaians will be allowed to have licenses to export gold from this country, and anyone can apply. So, and foreigners are not banned from buying gold. They can do, but they have to buy it directly from the gold board so that we can better monitor it. So if all these things are put in place and implemented correctly, then I think it will go a long way towards reducing all the huge, billions of dollars that we're losing every year, like 2 billion plus every year in illegal gold exports.
Any other story you'd like to highlight, or are you done for
I think that's, I think for now, that's the major one, that I wanted to talk about.
All right. Yes. I feel money.
Quick one on the gold board. The lawyer teaches us that any law without education is a hallucination.
Any law
without education
is a hallucination. Okay, that's...
The education on this gold board is minuscule, to say the least. And but only good aspect of this law is that the stakeholders were consulted, and they've admitted same that they were consulted. But in terms of education, little has been done. So there's a need to step up education, get these players to understand, get the whole nation to understand what gold board can do, which others like PPMC could not do. We all know that our revenue from gold pales in comparison with what is exported illegally.
Yes.
So this has come to rectify a reciprocal wrong and ensure that as a nation we derive maximum revenue from what we produce. So education, and this should be done
for Ghanaians, for the ordinary Ghanaian to understand how it benefits us as a nation.
Well, interesting. Would you like to at least give us the headline from
the New Republic? The lead story: James Bond walks free. James Bond, referring to Kwabena Edubuahin, the Director General of the
They have given him a name that they have stuck to.
Yes.
The newspapers.
And the story says, after weeks of languishing in custody, former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edubuahin, has been released following his struggle to meet a staggering 120 million cedi bail bond. Accusations swell that Edubuahin misused stolen funds to acquire lavish properties both locally and internationally, with his wife allegedly aiding in the transaction. This is a story we know. Again, we plead that the strictest application of the law should take place and ensure that justice is done. All kinds of allegations have been bandied about. And it said that every story has two or more sides. He also has his side, and he is a lawyer attaché. Believe that Kwabena Edubuahin is innocent. So let the law take its place, take its course for justice to be done. That is all that I can say about this story.
All right. Well, I guess we can get ready to wrap, unless there's something else.
Why plenty for food and job failed, and the story is quoting the Minister of Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku, as saying that the planting for food and jobs under the Akufo-Addo government failed because of bad leadership and deficient strategies. So, the failure of planting for food and jobs should serve as a fountain of lesson from which this new minister should drink. It is an indictment on our sense of responsibility as a nation. It's vast lands, yet we are wallowing in poverty. Food is a scarcity. The former boss of the Union for this guy Calloway, or the name Edwin Calloway, was asked. He was. That's why to give his verdict on planting for food and jobs, and his answer, is so in my memory. He says, "You go to the market and find for yourself the availability and the prices for food. And then this will inform your decision on whether that initiative failed or not. And we all know that prices of food items were staggering, and availability was a problem to the extent that we have to import from Burkina and neighboring countries, landlocked countries, which in terms of soil fertility and availability, we are far, but here we are. So the Feed Ghana program should be a vast improvement on planting for food. The minister and the government have no choice but to ensure that food is available and at affordable prices for the ordinary Ghanaian to eat and be satisfied.
Yes, and we don't want GM food either, because it seems to be becoming prevalent here.
GM food.
Yes, we need to be careful because we have fertile soil here. And the problem with planting these things is that over time it modifies the soil. Yeah. So that you then go from having fertile soil to, only GM crops or seeds will actually grow. So we need to be careful that eventually we don't have problems, Because we have a way of just sitting there and things being done to us, and by the time we wake up, it's too late, and then we live with it, So I think that's something that's been bothering me a lot. There's all this GM stuff. We don't need it here. We have fertile land. Let's just grow.
Genetically modified.
Yeah, yes.
Some are also rooting for it, but with different interests at play. What do you said feeds into, I think, $4 billion.
The Joy News logo in the bottom left corner. With a real Joy News logo, the globe rotates. If you spot a static logo, it is an indication the video you're watching is fake. Doctored videos often have slight inconsistencies. It could be in the audio quality, visual glitches, or even lighting. Listen to this audio carefully.
Johnson Haynes will talk about a drug from the USA.
You will notice that this is computer generated and lacks the natural pauses and rhythms of a human voice. You will notice something irregular at the edge of the head and the background. It is
Muftau Nabila Abdullah here with sports on the AM show. Good morning. And we start from the camp of Laia Kingston, who has been speaking to his former players to consider educating themselves.
Welcome back to the AM show, and a gentle reminder that the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. Now, before we went on that break, I told you that we've got Miracles Aboagye in studio. He is aide to Dr. Bawku, a former vice president and also the NPP Studio 24 presidential candidates. You may have seen that this man was very active prior to the 2024 elections and quite active after that. Let's get up to speed with him and get to know what he's been up to. And a lot of things happening in the country so far. Benjamin, we've got a big guest in our studio this morning.
That is...
One cannot be a big guest. A short one cannot be a big guest.
The last I checked, the very short man was a big man.
That is
I'm good, bro.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we haven't met since
sometime last year.
Yeah. No,
I think
you need to balance yourself into the opposition group.
Okay. So you are finding your...
Oh, no, I found it now.
Your level in the opposition.
So when you start floating, then it's not there,
Oh, okay. I since the elections, we've not... And since that time... For a while, you hadn't spoken, and
Well, I was actually on news.
No, I'm saying for a while you hadn't spoken. Then, in recent times, you started, granted. I've followed you. I've followed the interviews you've granted and all of that. I think you were even at Asempa at a point, right? Yes. I followed that.
Yes.
There were some accusations that from your fraternity that the Elusi won't come pim since that time. So now you've come back into
That's true.
How are you doing though?
We're good. We're fine. I mean, we have a country to run. And if you recollect, Dr. Bawku during his concession speech was quite categorical that he was going to give the government time and room to settle down. And that as as a leader in this country, and a very prominent one for that matter, is going to work with the MPP to ensure that we are not a disruptive opposition, but we become an opposition that would provide some proper input into our governance to make sure that our country gets to where we are getting to. And I think that's what we are all trying to do, to simply ensure that on day-to-day basis, the education for our children and our people is getting better, road infrastructure getting better, jobs for the young people. We are doing better in health and every other sector you can think of as a country. And I think that's our preoccupation right now, to work with government as much as we can to ensure that our country doesn't retrogress.
All right. And MFI and I will be, since we've sandwiched you, we'll be shooting questions from different ends. But I feel we should start from the MPP's front before we come to what is happening now, the current government, governance issues, and all of that. Just briefly, from the last encounters we had, even on the back of the polls by Global Info Analytics, you were pretty, sure that the MPP would win. You threw a challenge to me at one point. You said, look, by this time, it didn't happen. What happened?
Well, I mean, I think it's an election. You go in with all your strategies and all your plans. You put in all the energy you could. And for me, I think that we applaud all the MPP members and sympathizers across the country. The over 41.75% of the Ghanaian people who voted for their party across the country and our parliamentary candidate. When you go into an election, it's just like the football that we play. The only difference between elections and our sports is that there is no draw. There surely would have to be a winner. And so the Ghanaian people in the 2024 elections thought that the propositions being made by the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, was quite superior to the proposition that we were making. And so they decided to rather vote for him and not our party. I think that's what democracy is all about. That's what democracy is all about. It's about the aspirations of the people. It's about the expectations of the people. And if at every point in time the people feel that this is a direction with which we want to go, we just have to, respect that. And once the elections are over, we come together and forge ahead, ensuring that the specific things that for which the people voted would be implemented. Then it takes us to the next level.
But before MFA comes in, did you expect this kind of gap? Because I think I listened to Osaichi Mensah-Bonsu, the former majority leader, make the point that as of August, or was it earlier, when you had polled internally, you were even falling below the 38% that initially, because it came up to about 41%, you got in the election, that you were getting about 30%, that things were looking pretty bad. Was it not obvious from then?
No. I don't think that's what he said, unless he said something else somewhere that I haven't heard.
What did he say?
But we never had any such polls as at August depicting that. What I think I've seen or read that our senior said was that as we moved towards the elections, we're getting better. And so he thought that between August and December, we had improved very much in terms of our electoral fortress. I mean, that's something that everybody actually acknowledges. You'd recall that from, I think, January 2024 till the elections, the MPP, and for that matter, our presidential candidates, came from a very wide gap earlier on, almost all the polls. Initially, the polls were putting him somewhere around 28%. Then every month we kept, improving and getting better than it was in the previous month. And I think that's what he was trying to. So
let me just quote him here. If you go to myjoyonline.com, it's dated the 17th of March 2025. And I said it off my head without even having read because of what I recalled. The title is, if elections were in August 2024, Bawumia would have polled about 30%, Chi Mensah-Bonsu. The relevant quote being, if they had conducted, or let me just start from here. I started seeing signs that the election would not be easy, but we still hoped for a better outcome. The fact that the elections were held in December allowed us to regain some support. If they have been, that is the elections, had been conducted in August, Dr. Bawumia would have polled around 30%, and this is a quote, against John Mahama, because at the time economic hardships were severe. That's what he said.
So absolutely. So it's exactly what I'm saying. So he didn't refer to a poll. I mean, like I said, if you paid attention to the polling from the various institutions, you'd realize that Dr. Bawumia and the party kept improving month on month in terms of the electoral fortunes. And that's basically what I think Honorable Chairman Bonsu was referring to. But Ben, the fact of the matter is that every election has its own dynamics. 2024 elections was not one that anybody expected in terms of the gap. Similar to 2016 elections. You recall that until 2016 elections, nobody would have even imagined anybody in this country losing an election by 1 million votes. Until 2016, nobody would have imagined. So when 2016...
800,000.
Well, I mean, thereabouts. But you recall that when that happened, people were shocked. In fact, people said that the NDC had collapsed and that the NDC would be in opposition for 50 years, 60 years, all manner of things. And that there is no way they can recover from such a huge gap at that time. And a lot of political scientists could not even have anticipated a bigger gap than that, the gap we had in 2016. But here we are. Subsequently,
look at it from 800,000 to about 500,000.
And then now 1 point.
The feeling was that still, I mean,
it's big.
You're going to catch up with 500,000.
You come to 200,000. Because you recall in 2008, we lost with practically barely some 47,000. You know, so let's just begin to understand that the Ghanaian democracy is growing. And it's a very good one. It's a positive one. That we have a democracy where millions of people can go this way in these elections. And then the next day, you see all of them moving towards this way based on what their aspirations are. For me, that is the positive thing that we need to look at in this. Our job now, as a political party, is to continuously provide that opposition responsibility that our democracy and our multi-party system brings upon us.
Which I think we'll come to.
That is to provide credible alternative.
Absolutely.
To everything that the government is doing.
We'll come
then the
to that
people would
shortly.
appraise that and then take decisions.
We'll come to that shortly. Let's just take you back a little bit to the elections again. So beyond the big picture as to this is democracy, obviously you go to elections hoping that you win, and if you don't win, you look at the external factors. But it's been some months after the election. For you, from where you sit, especially because you led the Bawumia campaign, if you look back and you do a micro analysis of the party itself, and especially from what Osei Mensah Bonsu said again some months ago, that the reports that he had been tasked to conduct in the Ashanti region, despite him not giving us the details of the report, some bit he mentioned that when the very ordinary persons in the Ashanti region was interviewed, masons, hairdressers, the barbers, some of the things they discovered were quite shocking. I'm not sure what it is, was quite shocking. I hope that you know what it is that they said. It was quite shocking. But today, from where you sit, if you overlook and you oversee, what are some of the internal reasons you think may have caused the loss of the NPP?
I don't discuss internal party issues on air.
Okay.
I'll never do that.
Are they secrets?
No, yes, they are secrets to our organization, which obviously you are not a member of. So for our viewers who are members of our party...
How do you know, though?
No, you are not supposed to be. You're a journalist. You cannot be a card-bearing member of a party. You can go and vote based on issues.
What law bars?
Oh, once I know you belong to a particular party, I'd be worried about your independence.
If she were a member, yet she would come here and do her job...
It will be difficult. It will be difficult. You cannot be... Politics is partisan. You understand? It's very politics.
Being a card-bearing member doesn't mean
you are partisan. No, you are partisan.
Once you just bear a card,
then let's be practical. Once you go and pick a political party's card, you become partisan. You have a responsibility to protect that party, because when you are taking the card has certain rules.
Which which will mean that if it was privy to this secret, so-called secret, then I would.
So you raised internal issues.
Right.
Internal issues are for internal people.
Absolutely.
And I want to use your platform to urge all my party people. Don't let the media people, coerce you and trick you into discussing internal issues.
It's
at the police station level.
Let me rephrase it.
I don't know what trickery. At the police station level.
Yes.
There are police station executives whose responsibility are to organize the party at the base. It goes to the lecture area level. It goes to the constituency, region, and the national level. Each of these levels are organizations on their own with their leadership. If there's an internal issue in my police station, which you know very well, like the Methodist Primary School, we will sit down at the MPP people at that police station and discuss those.
I think the point is well made. Maybe a bigger or umbrella question would be, from where you sit months after the elections, what would you have done differently?
I mean, it's not about what we would have done differently.
Okay.
Because if we do that, then we are saying that the Ghanaian people go to the polls based on how we manipulate them as politicians. That's not the issue.
Okay.
So the people voted for a government that will give them because they believe in that. The people voted for a government that says that I will end Galamsey in 2 weeks. They believe in that. The people voted for a government that says that the president is deliberately not signing the LGBTQI.
The NDC said it would end Galamsey in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Is that what they said?
The Minister of Communication, I'll quote him for you. Yes, he said it. He said it.
The Minister of Communications is not.
He's a cabinet member. Otherwise, he's a cabinet member?
Is he the main arrowhead?
Yes. He's a cabinet member of the government. He said it. He's a cabinet member. The Minister for Communication.
Is he the minister? Is he the sector minister? Is he the president?
But you're a cabinet member. Otherwise, then...
At the time he said this, what was he?
He was a leading member. He was a parliamentary candidate, a member of parliament of the party.
He was being vetted.
He was a ranking member of the communications committee. So he's no mean of a person. Okay. And so the people voted for that. And let's give credence to the people. So the people voted on issues. The people voted for a government that says that double track is bad. And that government says that when I come, I'll abolish double track right there and then. They voted for a government that says that when we come, we'll make first year university education free.
Let's start with Galamsey.
Okay.
Let's start with Galamsey.
Okay. Maybe before we get into Galamsey, because it's going to be a long one, just a quick thought. There are some things you can't say. I find it curious because Osei Mensabuntu again and other party stalwarts have spoken, publicly. Even there was a time where the Nshiaeso MP Steka, Dr. Namwa, was aggrieved with some reports that had come from the Ashanti region and all of that. There's been talk about your messaging. There's been talk about some complaints within your party that even there was money given to some bigwigs that was not distributed and all of that. And then we had that interaction. I'll just end there so that you sum it up for us, where Dr. Bawumia, the candidate of the MPP, recognized, congratulated you, the communications team, and said that it wasn't really your fault, but that, other elements, the media was against you and all of that. We took the fall for that. How do you address that? Because those are all, from your party and they've come out there. So the verdict is out there anyway.
We can't have political conversations without parties anyway.
Our party is going through a restructure, and I want you to hear me on this. We are rebuilding. As part of the rebuilding processes, there are certain things we should do and shouldn't do. One of the things we should not do is to be discussing obvious internal issues in the public space in the manner with which some people have done. We've had conversations at the back end, and we've engaged, and we've told them, listen, you may probably have fallen in that space, but hold your horses for now. And I think that is what everybody should do.
Is Sarah Adjua part of this restructuring?
Yes.
She is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you understand.
Since you're talking of what people say,
hold your horses for now. I mean, it's a big organization. Once in a while, people will slip. It's okay. So it's okay when people slip and they get into that conversation. But why should we come and discuss what happened with our party and our campaign in Seshiri, also our campaign in Our Win on TV? How does it benefit even the viewer? The viewer doesn't care about that. The viewer simply cares about what alternative you are bringing as a political party to the economic issues, to their health sector, to their education.
They also do realize that for your party faithful, because there are always
we have meetings. Those who are, they come to meetings.
Hold.
The party faithfuls come to meetings.
Your party faithful,
they come to meetings.
Walking on the streets of Kokomlemle, how many of them attend you?
Those who want to hear the issue.
For those who maybe say, look, our party lost, we feel aggrieved, we want to know why, because you can't solve something if you've not identified the problem, right?
Yes.
Shouldn't you be talking about, look, we acknowledge this is what happened and we are trying to remedy it? You don't think that's necessary?
So let me explain to you. For example, in the past 2 months, there's been a lot of rebuilding going on. Constituencies are having their conferences, polling stations are having cleanup exercises and social events. The TESCON on our campuses, UPSC, University of Ghana, UCC, it's been all over the place. That is where we discuss internal issues. You are not there.
Did you show your card before you enter? If you're coming for these meetings?
We know our membership, yes. An NDC member cannot come to a party meeting. Before an NDC member comes to a party meeting, you would have converted.
The media also could not.
No, it's a party meeting.
So if that NDC member wants to join your party?
No, you convert before you come and join our meeting. Why? Have you seen the presbyter going to a Methodist men's fellowship executive meeting?
But I mean, I think your point is well.
Yeah,
hopefully when the restructuring
it would help. It would help. But you know, it's okay when the sensations are there and all the emotions are all over the place. But we need to protect our democracy. And one of the ways of protecting our democracy is to ensure that political parties like the NDC and MPP, are formidable at all times. And putting internal issues out there in the manner in which the media wants, which is rightly so, you have committed no crime. It doesn't help.
I'm not sure the part that doesn't help, but we can put this here in the back there.
No, it doesn't. It helps you, but it doesn't help you.
Okay, so let's start with Galamsey. Again, it's okay to count the numbers, the days, the weeks, or the months that this new government has just started. What can you say about the fight against Galamsey currently?
Let me frame Ben. Me, I'm a very, very strongly opinionated person. And that is why a lot of people will tell you that if I'm not factual, I don't speak to issues. When these Galamsey issues came up and we're in government, I constantly said it. And I think I was with you, Ben, on a show here on Galamsey. I remember when I mentioned Tony Obin's name and all manner of things. I said that Galamsey is a social canker. It's a menace that if you politicize, the country will be extinguished. And so we should be careful the manner in which we attempt to politicize Galamsey. The reason why now, sometimes when I wake up and I see Galamsey issues and the way this government is struggling with it, I feel like, let's just laugh at them. It's because we told them and they knew what we were saying was right.
What did you say?
But we told them that, listen, it is wrong for you to go and stand on a campaign trail as a presidential candidate, and our president is John Mahama, and tell the people that I don't see why the MPP government will come and arrest you people in the pit. And that when I come to office, and it's on your portal, My Joy News, I would release all of you Galamseyers who were arrested in the pit and give you your excavators and go for the kingpins. That is what he said. We had NDC apparatchiks, top leadership, the current CEO of the Petroleum Hub Corporation, Dr. Tony Obin, and NDC leadership, Kwaku Boahen and co, in the Galamsey pit, telling Galamseyers that the MPP wants to destroy your job. This thing, we've been doing this since ancestors' days, and it's a video, so the fact is there. Vote for us. When we come, the day you hear that we have been announced winners of these elections, come back to the pit and come and dig.
That's not being fair.
Oh, no, should I quote you?
What was?
No, play the video. Play the video. You have the video. Play the video. Play the video. No, Ben. No. Don't do that.
Okay.
You are impugning me and don't do that.
Don't start using your
Let me quote. No, MFA, let me quote. No. If I am telling you facts and you tell me that
some part of it, I recall.
No. It is fact, not some part. And I'll do it again.
Everything.
I'll do it again. Tony Obin was standing. You have the video. If you really are sure about your position,
all videos here.
No, but I've sent it to Kingsley. I've sent it to Kingsley. If you really are sure, play the video. Tony Obin was there. The parliamentary candidate for that constituency, one Muslim named Sadat also, was there. Kwaku Boahen was there. And these are Kwaku Boahen's words. The parliamentary candidates' words were also these. Munim say Juma we minimu nyina na eye. NPP for who say abato eba bedruso no. And on masha da eyi soldier for no free aha. Na mum me catch them moto abawie ye mu nyina reba. Na da ye to aba no mo master for no omu nya mo na mu nyina mo koto aba ma NDC. Na moto aba ne wie ne yabobodi na mo tese mawi ni pe. Mu nyina mo bra na ma Galamsey. This is a public video. What are you talking about?
Let's start with the president.
You understand?
So let me Dennis, hold for me. So in anticipation you send this video to Kingsley.
No, not in anticipation. I told you that 3 months ago or 4 months ago.
That's interesting.
We're having hold on. We're having this conversation here, and I sent the video to Kingsley. He's a producer. He has the video.
Right.
But let's come back to the conversation.
Let's come back to
So all I am saying is that this attitude and posture of the then opposition is what has led to the escalated nature of Galamsey. You know why? Because the people simply think that these are the people who told us that when they come, they will allow us to mine. And so once they are here, it is time for us to
Let me quote one of
we used to do.
Just hold your horses. This story is from December the 3rd, 2024. And this is what the current president says. He says, I know that here in Adanse, and of course we can't look through all of them, but I'm giving one example just to communicate what he was saying. I know that here in Adanse, you deeply value small-scale mining. The NDC will bring policies to support small-scale miners and ensure the land is preserved for future generations.
So you see, the problem I have, and you constantly...
And I'm not saying that this is all of what he said, but this is one of the...
So let me help you. So let me help you. Ghana Web, I'll grant all Galamseyers imprisoned under Akufo-Addo amnesty. The 2024 flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, 4 years ago, in the run-up to the 2020 election, promised to pardon all illegal miners who have been imprisoned under Nana Danko Akufo-Addo if he returns to power. Speaking at Edum Bamso in the Mpoho constituency in the Western region, to kickstart his 4-day campaign, Mahama stated that it is ridiculous to have a foreigner engaged in the same illegal activity, released without any prosecution or fine, but sentence our own people to these consequences. The former president added that he would get illegal miners back to the fields to work in a more controlled environment as captured in his party's manifesto. It is sad that government said it was fighting Galamsey, and they arrested, prosecuted, and jailed Ghanaians who were engaged in that activity, but left Chinese people to go. Today, they are still in prison. The Chinese Galamseyers who were arrested have been left to go free. They were never prosecuted, but our people are in jail. When we come, we shall grant all those arrested and jailed amnesty. They will come back to their homes and work. I believe that these operators are remorseful towards any unlawful activities. So we'll give them another chance. So you see...
But what
hold on. These aspects we have not contested, have we?
No, hold on.
Because these we have even condemned here.
So that's what I'm talking about.
But it's not everything.
So that's the point. So why are you making a point that I have made? I am telling you that if you have a former president who is aspiring to be president, tell the people that when I come, those who committed crimes against the state and have been found culpable by a court of competent jurisdiction will be left to go because the government is wicked, because the government is allowing Chinese people to leave the country. And then when you come, basically all you are telling those people is that, as for you, you are a friend. And so now that you have come, one, you release us, and two, you're not going to prosecute us and arrest us. That's MFA. You can beat around the bush. You can try to jump around it. That is one of the reasons why today Galamsey has gone a top notch higher than it was 4 months ago.
You have just said that. So I've allowed you to make a point. Make your second point.
You just made a point that Galamsey has gone a notch higher.
If you don't think so, it's okay.
Where are the metrics to prove?
Ben, if you don't think Galamsey has got a notch higher, it's okay.
I want us to
the viewers and the public who are following the story.
Say you're very factual. I'm asking you, based on what are you making this?
Based on what metrics? Were you always before now saying that the Galamsey and you putting cameras all over the country saying that Galamsey was on a rise? Based on what metrics?
No, I mean,
were you doing
based, for example, on passing LI?
So your metrics today tell you that
based on LI 246, for example.
Hang on. Gentlemen, hang on.
Ben, just take your time. This Galamsey matter, it's not one that we should do PR with it too. It will swallow all of us.
Miracles.
It will swallow all of us.
I think all of us.
Miracles. Let's go.
Dennis, let's again set the ground rules. We are interviewing you.
Oh no, but I'm also responding to you. I'm also responding
to you
in the same manner.
Just take it easy.
In the same manner.
So you recall that you had quoted the former president.
Yes.
And among one of the things that many people have been saying, he said, which is with me, and I want us to even go a little further, is the fact that he says he will, if you're correct, he will release the ones that are working in the pits and go after the kingpins. If you were not a politician and if you were not part of the previous government, what imputation will you put to this?
So that is why the people voted for you. And that's the point I made earlier. So the people voted for you because you said that you go after kingpins. So now you come. 3 months or 4 months in office. you have not shown any single sign of going after the kingpins. Rather, you are still in the pit, arresting the same people you told that you would release. First of all, what you have done is that you have misled them. You have deceived them into believing that you will not come after them.
And so for
now you take them, and then wait, hang on. You remember I quoted the point he made at Adanse on the Chinese people. So you come to office. You said something else before we voted for you. You come to office. You go into the pit. You go and arrest these same boys you said you released, and then now you are deporting the Chinese people that you accused the previous.
Do you recall that at the end of that article that you read, you said that he believes that these people would have been remorse about their actions, so they'll bring them back and provide a more conducive environment for them to work. But so that's what I'm saying. Let's assess the process.
No, but that's what we are
Let's start. So at least in the last 3 months, say 2 months, you may have heard. The conversation started with the repeal of the LI, which the environmental minister has said, the Lands and Natural Resources minister has said that has been laid in Parliament. The conversation and the civil societies have said that it looks like an amendment more than a repeal. That's a step we can discuss. You've also heard about the river guards that are being trained to deploy to the river bodies, at least. You may have seen the EPA's assessment and all of that. Are we in any way saying that so far we haven't seen anything at all about this government trying to fight Galamsey, no matter how significant? Let's establish that.
Let's have this conversation without interruption, like the way I allowed you to land.
Go ahead, make your point.
So you see, when we have a canker like Galamsey, and you have an opposition leader then, His Excellency Mahama, tell you that the government is doing A, it is wrong. It doesn't give a solution. Vote for me, I will do B. The government is doing C. Forget that one because it's not working. Vote for me, I will do D. When you win power, we don't expect you to come and do the A and the C that the previous government is doing, and not to do your B and D. Simply implement what it is that you promised that you will do when it comes to dealing with Galamsey. Tell me one thing that this government has done in the past 4 months about Galamsey that was not in existence as of 7 January 2025 when they took over power. River guards. Do you know when river guards were commissioned in this country by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources? River guards with their boats, with their drones. They have been there all this while. This is not the first batch of river guards. They are still there. So, and it's on your portals. Go to My Joy Online. Your news people follow it. So river guards is not something that the government, a novelty that the government has brought, which this country hasn't seen before to fight Galamsey. Is that what you promised us? Something that we were doing already, that you claim was not giving us results? That's what you are doing. Number 2, you said you were going to repeal the LI. You didn't say you were going to amend the LI. As it stands now, Mifa, stop the PR. It doesn't seem like an amendment. It is an amendment. The government has taken no step to go and repeal the LI. What the government has done is to take steps to amend the LI. That wasn't the promise. Number 3, you said that when you come to office, you will not go after these boys in the pit, and that you will go after kingpins. In the past 4 months, have you had any kingpin arrested other than the same boys in the pit? As at December 2024, Galamseyers in the pit were still being arrested. As at October 2024, on your portal, My Joy Online, you were reporting Galamseyers who have been arrested by the previous government. So if you're arresting Galamseyers in the pit, you have done nothing, because this country has been doing that since 2013. Since 2013, this country has been arresting Galamseyers, has been burning excavators, has been moving with military and police into the forest reserves. That is no novelty. You promise the people that when you come, you think that this country's Galamsey situation has gotten to the point where our lives are at risk, and it's a national security matter. So you, the president now, you were backing some civil society organizations and calling for a state of emergency, and saying that this country was at a point where we should call for a state of emergency. You have been in government for 4 months. Galamsey has escalated. Galamsey today is worse than it was in December 2024. Why haven't you called for a state of excellence?
You will say that is worse.
If you don't think so, that's fine.
No, I'm only asking.
That is my view.
Yeah.
And the viewers are also out there assessing it. Yeah, let me tell you. Up until the NDC came to,
and I want you to wrap.
You would not see people in Osino, okay, doing galamsey at Osino market. Today they are doing it in the middle of town. Have you used the Kumasi Road recently? Right by the roadside. Your own reporter who has been reporting on galamsey all this while. I quote him. He's here. I'll quote him. And I have had my own issues with Erastus in the past, but I'm quoting him because what he did to us is what he's doing to this same government.
If you had issues with the Erastus reportage, how is it relevant?
No, it's a different matter. It's not important.
It's not. Is it about this?
My views and my opinions is not.
It won't matter.
No,
Miracles.
So this is what he says.
Hang on.
I'm telling you that
it won't be fair. You know that it won't be fair that in the past, his reportage, you've had a problem.
No. I said I've had my own issues with Erastus.
With him? Is it with him personally?
No, he knows. We banter. He knows. We banter.
Let's move the conversation.
So 19 hours ago, this is what Erastus said. The president cannot watch on for this to happen constantly. I have notified the right authorities, including the sector ministry, but very little agency is attached to it. How can party people lay claim over illegality in such brazen manner across the country and leaders watch on? Galamsey is being done in protected reserves in such brazen manner by known party people who feel entitled because they claim it's their turn. The more we notify authorities, very little is done. These images show current mining in the Tano Nimri Forest Reserve and the extreme pollution of the Tano River. How do we allow people with connections to illegally enter a protected forest and degrade it and steal the resources, leaving degraded lands for citizens to pay for? Why is it difficult for authorities to end this crime? The only answer that makes sense is that it involves people close to them. I am saying that if I don't quote Erastus and I quote somebody else, you will say that Miracles is exaggerating.
It's okay, make the point.
This is Erastus. Galamsey today is escalated than it was 4 months ago.
Simple question.
The government of the day promised us specific things.
Right.
And I left them.
You've elaborated
1,
enough on
repeal the LI. 2, call for a state of emergency.
Right.
3, stop arresting the boys in the pits and go after the kingpins. These are specific things you said you will do when you win power. Until you do those things, if I stop telling the people that the government has done something.
If he achieves it without implementing these 3 promises, would it be?
Why do you think that what you thought was being done that could not give results?
We're not robots, are we?
No.
What is
the same thing
is that
the same results. That's what it is.
Over the last how many weeks we've been talking about the same points. I've spoken time without number about LI 2462 and that it must be revoked, not amended. In fact, if you read some of the research by Arosha Ghana, they talk about how much more forest reserves we can get secure, over 60% if we revoke, rather than about 10% if we amend. The bit you are talking about, a state of emergency, we've sat here. I have engaged eco-conscious citizens. I've participated in their programs, and we've all lambasted this administration on those same points. So you are literally preaching to the choir on those.
No, I'm not talking to. I'm talking to the viewers.
As for those very points,
but they must be
points
made.
That we all.
No, but then don't come and tell me that this government is doing it.
Let me.
But they've done nothing new.
No, we're asking. So in 4 months, comparing to 8 years, you think that this government is still on the same journey as?
But the things I've mentioned to you, the things you mentioned that they've done, they are things that were done. They were still in place as of January 7th. Mention 1 new thing. There's nothing new. Mention 1 new thing that this government has done on Galamsey. 1. You don't have.
Is that a concession then? If you say that all the mechanisms have failed, is that a concession that throughout your 8 years, your mechanisms at tackling Galamsey were also failures?
If you followed my conversation on Galamsey, you'd realize that yes, that's my answer. Because I have always said that the manner in which we politicize Galamsey is the reason why these mechanisms are failing, and that is why. I recently even made a post. I think even the restaurants made a comment about it, and we had our own banter. That's a different matter. I think that MPP in particular shouldn't go the path the NDC went when they were in opposition. That is my view. I think that no matter how much this government would have lied to the people to power on this Galamsey matter, we should put politics aside and not play politics with it and work with the government to get Galamsey solved. Until we depoliticize Galamsey, it doesn't matter the strategy MFI you put in place. It would not work. When you read
that definitely, and because I want us to,
it will not work.
I think it is common knowledge.
It will not work.
That problem.
You understand? And
everyone will tell you that both parties are neck deep. They have people in it. But we don't have all the time to talk about that.
Today you are saying both parties. In 2024 December, you said MPP people.
Oh, because at the time
it is NDC people. It's not both parties. Today, the Galamseyers are NDC people, not both parties. No MPP person is in the pit. When you go and the NPP person in the pit, arrest him, jail him for life. It is NDC people who are doing Galamsey.
Have you identified one NDC person?
Yes, your news portal, this your station. Show the video. Yes. This your station. Show the video of NDC chairman almost strangling a military officer and asking him why he's in the pit. So yes, your station
so that makes him a Galamseya.
Yes, but he's an NDC guy. Okay. And he's a Galamseya. And your own reporter, Erastus, has constantly been giving indicators of those who are doing it.
Let's have
the point I am making is that
you say there are no mechanisms. I just want to find out. Gold board.
No new.
The gold board. What do you think about it?
Gold board
will it help in dealing with, Galamseyas? Because like it or not, I'm asking you a question.
No, show me. Because I don't see...
Like it or not.
I've read a gold board law. And I don't see where it addresses illegal mining.
Let's hear the question.
I ask the question? Thank you. As part of the responsibilities of gold board is going to be an assay and everything in between. It will be a one-stop shop where people can actually deliver their gold, get value, central bank rates, at least for now till April the 30th, the window they've given, they are going to sort of regulate the entirety of the industry. I'm simply asking you, would this be a part of the solution in curing our curse where people, of course, want to do their own thing, secure gold at their local level for individual gain, but now they are saying they are trying to streamline it. I'm asking you, is that part of the solution?
No, it's not.
Why?
It's not because Galamsey is illegal mining. It is a group of people who are hiding under the darkness to recover or bring out these minerals without legitimate, let's say, regulations or licenses.
But they say they are trying to regulate all these people.
How do you regulate
to come forward?
How do you regulate an armed robber? How? What are we talking about? Are we playing? How do you regulate an armed robber, Ben? How do you regulate a thief?
But I thought I'd known some of your members in the previous administration in 2024 talk about the fact that you can't go past the Galamseyers. They are everywhere. So what you have to do is actually get them together, regulate them, and even Dr. Bawku was talking about the gold catcher machines and all of that. Was that not the same idea you were using?
So you see, then you are not talking about illegal mining. Then you're not talking about Galamseyers. Then you are talking about a solution that I think is a good one. That you provide an alternative, a more formal and regulated alternative way of mining, and hope that these criminals who go under the darkness to go and mine would say that this option that you have given us is one that we will take. But I don't see anything like that in the gold board.
Okay,
I've read a gold board law. I don't see anywhere in the law that says that a Galamseya in Osino or Etiwa East, okay, this is it for you. And that today don't go to the mining pits, but come and do this. And gold board is there to buy gold.
So the public knowledge is that...
We have the small-scale miners who are doing the right thing. Progressively is the idea not to get, and this was espoused as well, is the idea not to get people away from illegal mining, and maybe if they can become regulated small-scale miners. Would that be a
Where in the gold board have you seen
I'm asking you a general question.
No, but you said gold board, and I'm saying that it's nowhere in the gold board. It's a good thing.
I am not saying specifically. You made a point and said that could help.
But you said progressive, so what is the progress? Where? What is the blueprint? That's what I'm asking. Ben, you are saying that progressive.
Okay.
So the assumption with progression is that there's something going on.
The point I've just made.
Yes.
Would it be a positive in tackling calamity?
Yes. In fact, if government, no, you said gold board. If government should put in place a system, and I've always said it, there are two things that government needs to do. It's a social mindset thing. First of all, whilst you are doing all these things, there must be a deliberate social reorientation or mindset reorientation in these areas for them to understand the dire effects of Galamsey on them and the entire nation. Then you provide an alternative form of livelihood, which will include those who would lay down their tools completely and come and do other things. Or those you would want to bring on board, provide resources to, and properly regulate for them to become small-scale miners. That, for me, I think would be the way forward.
I know it's quite late in the day. It's quite late in the day, but what was the NPP or Dr. Bawumie's plan?
I was just about to get to that.
What was his plan before?
So Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said that, listen, these guys, they've grown up in these areas. That's all they know to do. So the more you go and fight them, the more they find clandestine way of even committing the same crime. So one, he's going to set up the Minerals Bank, which is going to be the financial backbone to the mineral extraction sector. Two, these galamseyers are going to be sat down, reoriented, and then encouraged to put themselves into proper cooperatives, given the necessary backing, which includes...
How is that different from what we were just discussing?
What is different? Is it being done? You said Gold Board will do it, and I'm telling you, it's not in the Gold Board. It's not in the Gold Board law.
What is this fascination with Gold Board?
But you brought it up.
I spoke about it briefly, and then I started talking about general solutions. What could be done? Asking you whether these would...
But I agree with you.
Said, yes.
Yes, I agree with you. And that is the proposition.
It's not none
No. You said Gold Board.
We're on a journey. Let's stay with the...
Go ahead. Finish.
So he would provide the data.
Okay.
The data is to help these galamseyers or small-scale miners, let me put it in that form, to stop scavenging and just digging everywhere, hoping they find minerals. But at least this time round, they have the data that says that this place, there is gold. Then government provides them with the necessary machinery. That's where he mentioned, Dr. Bawumia talking about the gold catcher machine, and give them the financial muscle so that they do not even need the Chinese people. Because what is happening is that when the Ghanaian person has some land somewhere in the Etiwa forest somewhere, because they don't have the muscles to bring all these machines, chamfan, excavators, they go to China. Go and bring the Chinese people to come and help them. And at the end of the day, you realize that even our own people who are committing this crime, they get very little.
Okay.
And then the Chinese people
the composite of this, you believe, would fare better than what we are seeing now, right?
In fact, wait,
and it's something that I encourage.
We have limited time. Let's
encourage government to really do.
Quick one. We have to move on.
Yeah, in fact, and this is because we wanted to put clarity on the Gold Board. Not that we speak for the government or anything, but if you look at the public understanding of what illegal mining is, it's believed to stem from small mining. Even because we have small miners who are licensed, right? Who are small scale miners who have license to mine, but the illegal ones will stem from that because we are unable to regulate, as you have said, a thief or an armed robber. You cannot regulate them. So the Gold Board, as part of their mandate, says that they are going to be putting all these small-scale miners into one, so they are able to regulate it. Because at least if you can oversee behind you, you can be able to at least mitigate the thief, right?
Small-scale miners are already regulated.
So if you can oversee,
yeah, but they are already being overseen.
At least it makes the entry of the thief a little bit smaller. Right?
Some of them are still engaging in illegality.
Let's help government.
Are you not aware?
Let's help government to function well, and let's stop playing semantics. Small-scale miners are already regulated.
Some of them engage in illegality anyway.
But those are not small-scale miners. If you're a small-scale miner, you have a license. You have been given a concession. You've been given
small-scale miners with licenses, even per the group admitting.
Yes, but even there are big mining firms who are even still doing this criminality.
So it doesn't mean that once they are small-scale miners, everything is perfect.
The point here is that he says that Gold Board says they are coming to oversee small-scale miners. And when they do that, it will help. And I'm saying that small-scale miners are being overseen, even without Gold Board.
So at least
they are being regulated.
It's a better sector.
How is it? It's the same thing. How is it?
I'm talking of the small-scale mining setup.
Yes, they are not galamseyers.
They have a lot of regulation.
They are not galamseyers.
So point made.
It is the thieves and the criminals who are in the dark doing these things. They are the ones who are talking about.
We still have a lot to talk about. But I just want to segue back briefly on... I would have wanted us to do that before getting into galamsey. The Bawumia factor, just quick reflections on that. I've heard talk about
national development.
Actually, we were going to do that before
national development. And do that one.
No. There are so many other issues, and I don't want.
Why are you so much interested in our internal?
Unless you don't want to talk about internal.
Yes, but I reserve the right to talk or not. But let me hear you first.
It's your decision.
I'll hear you first, then I decide.
There's been a lot of talk about the candidate you chose. The most recent of them being Owusu Bempah. And he made a comment just very recently, and he said that for him, the loss of the MPP was because of the wrong candidate that was selected. And I have also heard of similar comments coming from different bigwigs of your party, suggesting, some of them saying in confidence that things didn't inure to the benefit of the party because of the candidate that was selected. To what degree do you think the selection of Dr. Bawumia was problematic for the MPP?
Honestly speaking, I don't want to. It's not a conversation that I want to go into now.
So Owusu Bempah actually said...
Who's Owusu Bempah?
You know Owusu Bempah, he was
Which
a
one?
presidential
Is it a pastor
staffer. I'm not talking
No,
about...
we didn't have a presidential staffer called
I'm talking about MPP member.
No, we didn't have a presidential staffer called Owusu Bempah.
You didn't have a staffer called Owusu Bempah?
No, we didn't.
I see.
So I want to know.
I also know someone was at, was it NPA or Ghana Gas?
Yeah, he's the one.
Oh, now you know him?
Yes.
Okay.
But he's not a presidential staffer.
Right. He says many MPP members didn't vote in 2024 due to, quote, wrong candidate choice.
We are rebuilding our party.
You're rebuilding your party?
I think that, like I said earlier, in our party today, the most experienced politician, active politician in our party today is Dr. Bawumia. There's no doubt about that in our party today. He is the one that has been at the foremost today, actively, and has been at the foremost of this country's politics than any other person. He's been vice president for 8 years. He's been running mate for another 8 years. That alone was 16 years. And he's run for a presidential election. The party rank and file across the country are quite clear in their minds that our only fast route to power would be to stay united, neatly and closely together, work together, behind a leader that has articulated clear-cut alternative policies to the issues that matter most to the people of this country. And that person is Dr. Bawumia. That's one, there's no doubt about it. Data supports it. Our political history even supports that. As for views, I can't verify this because I didn't hear it. I haven't heard it. But as for views being expressed by individuals, I am sure that you are aware that we'll be going into an internal contest. And once we'll be going into an internal contest, we should expect that even within our own
so
party,
we'll leave that
people would disagree. People would disagree with each other and all of that. So let's not really worry too much and play so much blame. Even with comments like these, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's posture is that, team, let's work with the party who are committed to ensuring that we get back to power so we can implement these ideas we have for all these sectors. And I think that anything that would distract the party's rebuilding and restructuring is something that I would advise all our party people. It's difficult. Sometimes it's very emotional. It gets sentimental.
This one is not emotional. Let's talk about Operation Feed the Nation. Would you agree?
My interesting takeaway is the fastest way of getting back to power. Fastest. Yes. Maybe not...
Of course, but you can get back to power in 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. So you need to go for the fastest.
But anyway,
we'll
as a student of political science, I understand. Because why are political parties set up?
Yeah,
they are set up
to win elections.
Yeah,
that's
so
what it is.
It's understandable.
No, but that's all. That's the only reason.
It's understandable.
That's the only reason.
Well, whatever it is, we'll be right here to discuss.
Yes,
hopefully you'll be in this seat.
Oh, no, that's every day. I'm your partner. I'm your stakeholder.
Let's talk about the Operation Feed the Nation.
Okay.
And a lot of people have just opposed it with the planting for food in your era. What do you think about the NDC's Operation Feed Ghana?
I mean, I haven't seen the policy document. I haven't really seen the details of what the program will do. But anything that would give us food sufficiency, anything that will give us economic liberation when it comes to food security, I think it's something that we should support. And I think it was on Saturday that the president launched the program. Let's support it and let's see how it turns out. We'll be here again, like you said, maybe after a year to do an appraisal on how far it has gone.
You seem to be giving this government some time to want to operationalize this, but not the same sentiments for Galamsey.
Because that tells you that I'm quite objective with the issues. Because Galamsey, they are failing at it.
I am pretty interested. Interested in that.
Why are you doing that?
Because
why? Let me make my point.
Okay, wait. Go ahead.
Because clearly, Galamsey, they are losing it. They are clueless about how to deal with Galamsey. That is fact. You can play PR with it. You can help them gymnast around it. Fact is that they are struggling. And you know why they are struggling? It's because of their own words. Their own words is what is fighting them. So right now, they are fighting themselves. And that's why Galamsey will be handled in that matter. But Feed Ghana, he says he's going to produce 8 million beds with some number of persons.
Let me help you with some of them. It talks about the promotion of smart agriculture. I can't get into the details.
Yeah, sure.
Grains and legumes development project, vegetable development project, institutional farming, among others. I have said that the way forward for us should be mechanized farming.
Yeah.
Larger scale. When you go to other countries, that's how they are doing it. You don't even have too many people getting into it, but one mechanized farmer can feed, vast numbers of people. My question to you, we've had planting for food and jobs, 1, 2, we've had rearing for food and jobs and all of that. You speak to some of the agricultural experts and they say these did not yield the returns. In fact, Mr. Carrier will refer you to the market. When you go to the market, what are the prices of foodstuffs? Do you think this is any different from those and it would make any difference? That's my question.
So I'm hoping that once you are introducing a program, you do an appraisal of the previous one, and then you see the gaps, and then you make sure that the pitfalls or the shortfalls at the previous.
So you're hoping they would have done that?
You would meander around that. The argument about these programs by the Ministry of Agri and prices of food or food stuff is sometimes when we are having that conversation, we should be careful. I have been an MC. I mean, we come from the same municipality. A sack, or is it a bunch they call it, of plantain? A
bunch will do.
A bunch of plantain.
A poor Bawku.
Will be costing, let's say, 50 cedis at a Adorso market. Okay, that is food in Ghana. But by the time you move from Adorso market to the Medina market, it becomes 300 cedis. So you see, it may not necessarily be the program Planting for Food and Jobs that failed to give us the pricing, but there will be other reasons. Some of the market women in Medina will tell you that the cost of transporting the goods from Adorso to Medina is what influences the pricing. Some of the people will tell you that we even have plantain getting rotten at Manguase because the road from Manguase to Adorso is not in very good shape. So all of these experts, sometimes when they are saying some of these things, they are looking at it from a very single view. But there are several things that influence. We've had situations where you go to the farm areas and you have tomatoes and pepper being thrown away. And yet when you come to Accra, the prices are high. The point I'm making is that the prices of foodstuff are not influenced only about the abundance of foodstuff. You can have abundance of foodstuff in the farming areas, but still have price of foodstuff expensive in Accra because of other factors.
Do you anticipate these same factors in this current policy?
That's why I said I'm hoping that this policy would have done an appraisal because it's the same ministry. It's the same sector.
So there were flaws that were not addressed, and these must be looked at. For example, transportation, which is a basic, isn't it?
The roads, cost of transport, and all those things, they all matter. They are all factors that matter. And I'm hoping that there will be, you see, when you are running a country, you don't throw everything away. And that's why when you look at the Feed Ghana program, you see complete similarities in the previous one. Why? Because it's the same ministry, the same sector. I see the chief director that was with the MPP still seated at the table with Eric Cooper.
The technocrats.
Exactly. So you'd realize that the ideas will not depart so much from what was in the past. It's just a name that has been changed. But as you change the name, you surely have to do an appraisal of what was done in the past and identify the ones that they don't do so well.
I want us to do in Team for Joe, but just briefly on this agri thing. The president talks about the $4 billion worth of tomatoes we bring in from Burkina Faso. He talks about $400 million in poultry and all of that. Do you feel this gap can be taken care of in maybe 4 years? Practical?
He said he would do it. He said it, and it's in manifesto, and we are supporting him to get it done.
From where you sit,
yes.
You get the manifesto.
It's in the manifesto. It's there.
From where you sit and the variables that you look at, is it achievable?
He knows why he said he could do it, and I'm backing him 100%.
He's merely made mention of where we are.
No.
I'm saying, can these be done?
He hasn't merely mentioned.
Apart from their promises.
It's not a promise.
These are latest comments that I'm referring to.
But he cannot depart. He cannot depart from.
Can these be done?
Yes, he cannot depart from why we voted for him. You can't come into office and come and change your position. We voted for you because of the things you said you would do in your manifesto. Yes. Implement them. And I think that based on the things he said, because he said a lot of lofty things. Based on the things he said, I think that
be the first time.
If he implements them, this can be done. But if he fails at implementing them like he's failing at Galamsey, then clearly we will not get anywhere.
Shall we quickly get into it?
Of course, in Team for Joe, so the minority, The NPP, including Intim himself, do you still hold the suspicion that these flights that came to Ghana may have carried cocaine or may have engaged in money laundering as at this morning?
Eva, you know, this is Intim Fojo, and please don't interrupt me. I have been following it and I keep asking myself. 3 days ago, I asked Reverend Intim Fojo to send me again his press statement, the very first one he did. Because I wanted to go through it again, because I listened to him. And I kept wondering, how did we get here? Why are we even discussing this matter? Reverend Intim Fojo's press statement is very, very simple. And he's here. He sent it to me 3 days ago. MFA, he is the ranking member of Interior and Defense. He did a press conference. He spoke about 4 issues. Paragraph, the first issue was national security raid on 12 containers containing gold and cash. And he simply said, government, on February 9, 2025, you announced that you have found this. Can you please apprise the country on the status of that investigation? That was the first one. In fact, that was the first one.
In fact, we recall all of it. We took it live.
Hang on. No. Hang on. I'm making a point. Then Ahmed was second. What did he say with Ahmed? He never said anywhere in the press statement that he did. He never said anywhere that government is importing cocaine for government to even be defending and now become PR for Ahmed. And I was wondering who drew our government into this mess. The gentleman simply said that on another security matter related to our airspace, the Minority Caucus calls on national security to, as a matter of urgency, make public the content of cargo suspected to be cocaine and cash transported into the country by 2 suspicious flights, namely Ahmed flights and then Kavok Air private jets. Antonov, then he gave the number, which landed on the tarmac of Kotoka International Airport, and then he gave the date. Then he said that report indicates that March 20, 2025, Ahmed flight, which is an air ambulance designed to specifically carry patients, landed at the airport without a patient. Emefa, think about this. You are a citizen of Ghana. You hear that an air ambulance that is supposed to move only with patients, okay, has moved from an island that is notorious for cocaine, drugs, and money laundering, and landed in your country for 5 days without a patient, and then leaves your country and goes back to the island. And then you ask, government, can you please investigate? Because this island, they are known for money laundering. And if these things continue to happen, the international community will see us in a certain light. How do you come to me for evidence? Which evidence am I supposed to give you? Okay. The evidence here, the only evidence I'm supposed to give you is that, one, is it true that the island is notorious for cocaine, drug peddling, and money laundering? If that is the case, then that is evidence enough for you to investigate. 2, is it true that the air ambulance landed in this country without a patient and left this country without a patient? If that is the case, then you should be curious. Why would an ambulance move from an island that is notorious for drug and money laundering, come into our country without any patients and go back like that? That is suspicious. So if somebody asks you to investigate it,
some of the explanations that have been given
by the
having to land in Ghana for specific
so you see,
followed those?
That is even what even made the suspicion even more prominent.
So as of this morning, do you still hold the suspicion?
So let me just ask you. So far, I mean, you've spoken for a while. So far, the Ghana Airport Company Limited has said they searched all of these planes. NACOC has said that they were a part of this search. I have seen a video on the back of that, which has been posted, which I'm sure you are aware of. What you're also saying is that you don't trust these entities in respect of whatever search.
I haven't said that. What I'm saying is that this is what should have been done and even not bring us to this point where we've been discussing this matter for 3 weeks.
Now that has been done.
No, what has been done? Hold on.
He just gave you the...
Hang on. So the ranking member makes this statement. Then the president issued a statement and said that security agencies should investigate. All that we needed to do as a country and take ourselves out of this mess is not to have the Minister for Communication put a camera in front of him and begin to narrate to us and tell us and call the ranking member of Sofumoko and call him what's that? We called him another name. You understand? That
we can leave those.
Hold on. No, we cannot.
We can leave those.
Then he contradicts. No, he cannot. Then he contradicts himself. You see, when the Minister for Communication attempts to respond to something that the President has directed security agencies to respond to, and then he tells you, he gives you narratives that contradicts what actually transpired, because he lied in several fronts.
So beyond
he lied that the plane came to Ghana for certification because Luanda was not capable for doing that. That was a lie. Luanda had the capacity. Again, it has even come out that apparently the flight didn't even go to Luanda anyway, and that it came to Ghana.
Have been
hold on. So that is why even the suspicion is even reinforced.
So now that you're still
so why then do you go?
What's the call on? What exactly?
I mean, apart from even the call, let me just clarify this. In recent times, when Tim Fojo spoke, the last time I heard him, he made this claim here on the back of this. And speaking to Paula Domotri, he made mention of the fact that what he had put out was not mere speculation. In fact, let me quote. He says, "It is not mere speculation. The records exist and the relevant authorities are aware."
Yes, the record exists that the flights came from a notoriously drug money laundering area. The records are there.
What does that suggest?
It suggests that, see, let me tell you something. If you are my senior brother, okay, and then for the past 1 week, I see Miracles, who is a weed smoker, coming to your room late night and leaving in the morning, okay, and MFI is our sister. MFI is right when he goes to tell our parent that, Charlie, Mommy, these days, this guy that has been coming to Ben's room at midnight, we have to check it out, because this guy, he is a notoriously
You just said something. MFI is right if she does this or says this. Ben. Does that mean that the conjecture, the guesswork, that it could be that, means it is that?
Ben, hold on.
No, I'm just asking you.
That is why the gentleman in his statement was quite emphatic. He said, investigate and give the country a report. He never said that what he's saying is a matter of fact. Why did he say that?
There have been calls on him to also help this.
But he has helped. He has provided you with the fact that the flight came from the island, didn't go to any Luanda, came to Ghana without a patient.
Right.
He has given you the fact that...
We have all those details.
Yeah, so he has helped.
Forward, even after all of this had been given, we heard him say, even after all of this, these two presses, we heard him say that, I have more information and I'm going to put it out in the coming days. Maybe we should...
Yes, he does. Because you know why? He does because the communication minister has contradicted so many things. And that is why he's now getting more information. The more information is that, first of all, you even brought us pictures of a flight that was not in contention. It means that what are you trying to hide? Why are you trying to massage the issues? You came showing pictures, showing people lying under the plane, fixing ties, only for it to turn out that is not even the plane that we are having the conversations about. So yes, that brings about more information. Then you talk about Ghana Airport. Ghana Airport, in their statement, it was a PR thing to protect their boss. Didn't you see the statement? The statement said that they are not responsible for inspecting flights.
It was a PR thing.
If you are not responsible for inspecting flight, how do you come and tell us emphatically that the flight didn't carry anything? Are you the one responsible for it? As it stands now, have you seen...
The Ghana Civil Aviation Authority has its own duties there. The Ghana Airport Company Limited, the security services, national security, and all of that.
Yes. Have you seen
they were on the ground and did?
No. The Ghana Airport said this. No. Who has said? I haven't heard national security speak. I haven't heard Ghana Civil Aviation
has spoken.
NACOC is not.
And when NACOC spoke, they spoke about joint work with national security.
But that is, you see, all they had to do and save us this noise was to simply come back after the president directive. Not the communication minister to come and say that forget the president directive. Okay. It doesn't make sense. In fact, I don't know why the president... Hold on. I don't know why the president did that. I don't know why the president did that.
Right.
I am saying that if they had just listened to the president and not rubbish his statement.
Listen to the president.
Yes, and not rubbish the statement. Do you know what would have happened? 3 or 4 days later, NACOC or National Security will simply issue a 1-paragraph statement that based on the president directive, we have investigated and we have realized that indeed this flight had challenges made on its wherever journey, and he got clearance to land in this country. Subsequently, he got it fixed and he left. Will not be here. But I come and tell you that this is my suspicion, which is fact. Evidence is that it's a notorious drug area. Evidence is that it's an ambulance without a patient. And then he said I should bring you. Hold on. And I should bring you evidence. I should bring you evidence. Which evidence?
I look forward to this restructuring and having you back in the.
If you allege,
I should bring you.
Thank you for coming.
What did he allege? What did he allege?
Let me just say.
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this yourself? What did he allege?
You are sitting here. Do you believe?
Prove what?
I mean, before you go,
prove what?
Do you believe there was cocaine on any of those flights?
Has anybody said?
You honestly believe that?
There could be cocaine because as it stands now, the contradiction from government means that they are hiding. There could be.
No, I'm just saying whether you have a certain level of.
If you have an air ambulance land in your country without a patient from a notoriously drug-known country, and go back after 5 days. And to date, the security agencies are contradicting themselves and contradicting government spokesperson. They could, because
this is why we're going to still have the conversation this morning. It's been another interesting conversation with Dennis Miracles Aboagye. He is aide to Dr. Bawku. He joined us to talk about many matters arising from 2024 till the governance of the NDC now. Don't you forget, the AM show is proudly sponsored by Whaley Property. We'll be back with more conversations on, well, sanitation in Ghana generally, sanitation in Accra, and some things that have happened. What is going on? What is the way forward? We'll be right back on the AM show. Do stay.
Welcome back to the AM show, and thank you for staying with us. Now, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, which you know as the AMA, raises serious concerns about the government's fumigation contract with the Just One group of companies, operators of Zoom Lion Ghana, alleging a lack of consultation and transparency and demanding a review of the fumigation contract, as they also warn of a possible outbreak of diseases in the national capital, declaring all landfills sites at least very full. Now let's talk about the issues. Now joining me on phone before we come in studio is Florence Kuchi, and she's Director of Public Health at the AMA. Thank you for joining us this morning. And I'm also joined in studio by Reverend Dr. Kwame Adai, Head Vector Control Services, and also Emma Osei, Director Communications and Corporate Affairs in studio. But let's go on phone first and speak to Madam Kuchi on this particular, shall we call it, allegation and better perspective of what they are saying about the fumigation contract, the abrogation of it, and the warning that you're giving us about the landfills. Put this in a better perspective for us.
Okay, good morning, my dear. Let me thank you for having me. First of all, let me make the line straight. Nobody is giving any allegation, or nobody is blaming anybody for anything. What we are saying is that we are key stakeholders when it comes to the SIP. And the SIP is mostly signed at the top level, but it comes down. And most of the time, the technical officers doesn't have a say in the SIP. So we are saying that before the SIP is signed, technical officers should also be brought in so that we also know what is in there. Sometimes we also bring in our technical input. That is together, then at the end of the day, the needed results that we are all looking for, that is what we are going to get. We are not saying somebody is doing something illegal or somebody is doing something at the blind side of someone. We just want a collaboration, because if you want to get something good, you must collaborate to source ideas from each other and then bring it together and get your needed results. Thank you.
For some education, what is the SIP and step-by-step consultation? What do you seek and how do you want this consultation? What would it look like? Let's get some clarity. What role particularly?
For instance, the SIP is the Sanitation Improvement Program that is handled by the Johnson Group of Companies, and it is signed at the national level. For instance, if the contract is going to be signed, whatever is in the contract, at least it must be brought to bear for key stakeholders to also have their input in it. Maybe what they may think they are the holders of the contract, but there are people who are going to supervise the contract. Maybe there are some things that the people who are supervising can also put in to make the contract achieve the needed results that we all want. There's one thing having a contract, and there's one thing having a reflect on the ground. For it to reflect on the ground, all the actors must have something to say on it before it is signed, so that everybody knows the role he or she is playing in the contract for us to have the needed results that we are all looking for. So what we are saying is, most of the times, or let me say, the contract is always signed at the national level, and then it is brought down. You understand? So sometimes before you take it, even some assemblies are there, they don't even have access to the SIP. You only get to see it when auditors come and they are looking for it. The SIP sometimes become as if we don't know what it is. It is so highly in a way that, and I'm not saying it is the doing of the people that the contract has been given to. It is the general concern that the AMA environmental health officers raise, during the meeting with the Parliamentary Select Committee.
Okay. I'll let you go, but before I let you come in studio, again, I want specifically what role. I understand that you want a decentralization after the contracts or after they've been signed.
So what you are saying, you know, the SIP is just a jacket. It is one thing for everybody, but every jurisdiction, every locality, every geographical area has their own peculiar issues. So if maybe something that AMA will be facing as an issue, Medina will not be facing that as an issue. So if you just sign a one contract that is supposed to be done in every place as doing the same thing,
implementation
it will not reflect in what you want.
Okay.
At least consult all the MMDAs to find out each area what their key challenge is. And then when you bring it on board, it is going to solve the challenge that the people are facing. But if you make it one, maybe it will not be solving a challenge at another place, but it will be solving a challenge at a different place. But there should be series of consultations that will bring it together, and then we'll get what we want. Then at the end of the day, wherever you are going, you are not going to do the same thing like you are AMA, you are doing this. When you go to Abnekma Central, you are doing the same thing. But the needed challenges may not be the same. This is what we are just calling for.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for bringing some clarity to this conversation that's just started. But back in studio, I'm here with Reverend Dr. Kwame Adai, Head Vector Control Services, and as well Emma Osei, Director Communications and Corporate Affairs. Reverend Doc, I'll start with you. You may have heard what the AMA or Madam Kuchi is saying. As of this morning, the understanding of the SIP and what their concerns, are they legitimate concerns?
Thank you very much. And good morning to our listeners. I'm happy that Madam Kuchi is bringing all these at this 11th hour. First of all, he talked about signing a contract at the national level. The SIP contract or other related contracts are not signed at the national level. It is a contract signed between Zoomlion and the district assembly.
Okay.
When I mean the district assembly, could be the metropolitan, the municipal, or the district, because they have been grouped into three: municipal, metropolitan, and then the district, according to the size or by law. We do not sign it at the national. If you go and sign at the national level, whom are you signing with? It means that there should be a representative from the district assembly and a representative from Zoomlion or just one group of company. And when we have signed our part, we hand it over to the district assembly. Who will be nominated to sign, I will not be able to determine. Because the assembly will have DCDs who are the administrative head of the district assembly or the municipal. So if they decide to let their environmental health officers sign, I do not have a problem today. And I can't have any decision as to who should be allowed to sign the contract. So therefore, when the contract is signed and is given to us, it is presumed that the assembly has agreed on whom should sign. And when it is signed, I can query the person who signed because the assembly has its own culture, and I can't dictate for it. So that is what I want the public to know. That first of all, the contract is signed at the district assembly level, and it is the assembly member who are representing the assembly.
So you would say that there's a fair representation. It is properly decentralized, and so it's not 100%. That it is signed at the top. But so Emma, let me understand. I'm certain that you know that this is coming up, especially because of fumigation, SARS's, or the concern about cholera or other health outbreaks, because it's believed that our landfills are quite full. Is it a challenge of this policy implementation? Where exactly do you think the AMA is coming in? What is the challenge that we want to cure?
Right now, thank you very much, though.
from the discussion going on, you realize that the various parties involved have their own issues regarding the contracts and the assignment. So for me, I am a contractor and I've been assigned to do my job. So I make sure I put in the exact things that I need to put in place to get the job done. Now, we have established processing units, having realized that land was getting extremely scarce and that was going to put pressure on the landfills. So we direct traffic for the waste to go into the processing units so that they are sorted there and giving a second life to those, the kind of waste that can be reused, so that the landfills receive very minimal waste that can be managed over there. So that is what the intervention we have brought into the whole system, having foreseen that one day the landfills may be overblown. Now, the landfill that we have here for Accra is at Adepa. Adepa is very far, beyond Nsawam. So that is also a very big challenge. I want to believe that the various assemblies should have their own mechanism to cure this very problem. But when we cut the waste from the homes in the various assemblies, where do we take it? If we all have to aggregate those waste at Adepa, what do you expect? So if you want to find out what we are curing, we want to get the right remedy for the waste collected to be managed properly. So we want to direct attention to the processing units. We have set up transfer stations around town. We have one at Tertiary. We have one at Pantine, Abokobi area. We have a minimal one around Kokomlimli. We have one at Ashaman area, so that we can hold these waste in between before we cut them to the processing sites. Otherwise, the waste in your home and in my home is going to pile up. So we do this to reduce the turnaround time so that the individual waste generator doesn't suffer too much.
Rev, back to this SIP contract, the Waste Improvements Package contract that the AMA is calling for a review. I like to think that it is a contract that is ongoing, or is a contract that has ended, but by extension you're still providing the service. Has it ended? Has it been extended? What is the current situation with that particular contract?
Thank you very much. The contract is ongoing.
Okay.
Waste management cannot stop. Even when you stop collecting, the amount of waste or tonnage that will be compared in some specific area to alarm. If you go to a busy area like Accra, the amount of waste, those that come from outside Accra, those within Accra, individuals bringing their waste from their own enclaves into the area. If you say you want to stop and go and do other things for 2-3 days before you come, we cannot. And there are a lot of complications. So these contracts have been ongoing. As and when the contract is coming to expiration, due process are followed, and also it gets it renewed.
Okay, I'd go to Emma. So you want to confirm to us that this particular contract that is part of the conversation, or is the main conversation, is not an expired contract?
No.
It's ongoing?
It's ongoing.
Are you able to tell us the duration, how long it has to continue? And especially because AMA, who can help implement it, is asking for a review. How long do we still have for the contract to continue or to end?
Oh, we have ample time. We have a lot of time, because this one, I believe, was kicked in not too long ago. So that cannot be possible per the arrangements. Yeah. So it's ongoing. And one thing that I find a bit difficult to understand is that we are contractors. And if the contract comes in and the representative is assigned to append a signature to it. Like Osofo said, we have no much control. We have nothing to do about who signs it on. So if they are saying they are not privy to the contract or they don't have information on the contract, I don't know how Zoom Lion comes in to intervene for them to get that kind of details, because when we sign the contract with our partner, they also have copies. And the staff that work with the assemblies should also get copies from the representatives that signed, or from what Madam calls from the top.
Okay.
All right. So,
Rev, I mean, most importantly, and again, we're trying to situate the conversation because it's something that has pushed them to want to talk about this contract. They highlight fumigation, landfill, which is what we're trying to situate. Walk us through the fumigation process. How does a fumigation process, how is it done normally or culturally?
Okay, thank you very much. The fumigation process is also as simple as we do the SIP. The fumigation is done on quarterly basis, and we do not do it on isolation or in isolation. We work with district or municipal environmental health officers. They have their environmental officers attached. So we draw an itinerary. We work with itinerary within the quarter. Let's say from January to March, we sit down with the environmental department and they will direct as to where the work should be done. The work could either take place at the public toilet. It can also be a deratting exercise. It could also be a container site or government apartment or wherever the director of environmental service, the DEHO or MEHO, will decide. When it is being decided, the DEHO is a single person, but the DEHO may have at least a number of environmental officers, NHOs. They assign them and then they go with us. Then we have it done. In the case of AMA, AMA has 3 sub-metros, and these sub-metros are Asiedu Keteke. We have Ablikuma South and Okankwi South. It's made up of the AMA. And these sub-metros have their own environmental health officers.
So you deal with these environmental...
We deal with them.
You don't deal with AMA as a body in itself.
The AMA is represented by these people, of which Madam Kuchi is the founder. He's the head of these environmental officers. So we go, it's as early as in the morning, we go with these people, and then we have some assemblymen or unit committee members, depending upon the area that we are going to work. When we go and we work with them, they endorse that this area has been done. And this itinerary is not generated by we alone, it's a collaborative effort. If you're at AMA, the head of AMA, you will not come and do this because you have designated your environmental officers at Asiedu Keteke, Ablikuma South, and then Okankwi South, and we deal with them. When we deal with them, if they finish with a package of a work done, we give it to them, then they send to their director, which is at the AMA.
But help me, Rev. So where then do we place all these concerns by the AMA then?
They all work under the AMA.
So this particular concern, the current concerns, and even the one that Madame Florence Kuchi has just told us now, where then do we put it? Is it that it is unfounded?
What he's saying that he made mention of report signing, he doesn't see the report, and then it comes to the say he should sign. You are not working alone as a director. You are working under, you are working over 3 district environmental health officers and more than necessary environmental officers. So these people represent you at various sub-metros. And we work with these people. When it becomes feasible that we work with Madam Kuchi, we inform her.
Okay.
And then we work with them accordingly. So there is no single day that we have gone to work without people, either the assemblyman in the area or the unit committee members or even the people who are this container site or the public toilet. So if he said he doesn't see this, then her subordinate have been scrutinizing all these things before they bring to her. And she's perfectly aware that we have been doing this in consultation. There is no single activity that has been taken on or have been carried out without their knowledge. They give us the areas to work, and we go with them, we execute it in their presence or their representative, and they sign on their behalf. So if he's saying that, then I can tell you that it's misleading.
Okay. Emma, sorry, my friends call me forgive me. So in wrapping this conversation up, should we as a country, or should my viewers watching be worried about the concerns, the health concerns that the AMA has raised? And we're asking you because you're a major player on the value chain, so that we're not worried about our health. They've raised concerns about possible cholera outbreak, saying that our landfills are quite full. Should we be concerned with these, the concerns of the AMA at all?
Thank you. Once it's a concern by a party involved in the full chain, why not? People should be concerned. But from our end as the service providers, I would say that we have seen, research from our end has brought to bear a lot of things, and for us to forestall them, such as setting in place the landfill, the processing units, setting in place the transfer stations, all these stopgaps we put in place so that we can cut the waste from the individuals. If the waste was not carted from their immediate generation points, that would have been a major concern. Now, having put in these major facilities, we are sure that we are in control of the waste management. Therefore, they should not be worried about, say, an outbreak of a disease that is going to cause havoc. Because in recent times, there was a bit of outbreak, but it didn't go too far, as we used to know before we came into it.
So we're safe as a country?
We are very safe.
We're in healthy environment?
We are safe.
Rev, I'll let you take the last bite.
Yes, please. We are in a healthy environment. You see, the environment is made up of all of us. And therefore, we should not think that because Zoom Lion is doing ABC, so we'll continue not to do our work. Before somebody gets a cholera, it may be that, just excuse me, somebody have eaten someone's feces or physical waste. How does it come by? If open defecation is reduced, all these kind of cholera issue will also be reduced. And everybody is part and parcel. It is not just one person. We are doing our best, and we're encouraging that everybody should keep his or her environment clean so that it will help us to be able to ascertain the problem. When cholera occurs, when it is out of hand, it affects you, it affects me. And we put in every effort. We have been collaborating with Madam Florence Kuchi in all these aspects. So he knows that the work is there with their collaboration. Why not?
Thank you.
It's a mutual beneficial to us.
Thank you for bringing some clarity. And thank you, Reverend Dr. Kwame Adai. He's Head Vector Control Services, and also Emma Osei, Director Communications and Corporate Affairs. Earlier, we had Madame Florence Kuchi, Director of Public Health at the AMA. Remember that the AM show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. Go for a break. When we come back, Easter Saturday Health Fair. Please stay. Back to the AM show, and thank you really for staying with us. So just before that, we told you that Easter Saturday Health Fair is coming up, and I'm just going to be talking to Mr. Jonathan Ekwamwa, CEO and founder, and also a team at the CSR Ghana. We're just going to be understanding what this fair is about. Good morning, and thank you for joining me in the studio.
Good morning.
I am excited about Easter, but it looks like I'm even going to be more excited. Yes. Tell me about the Easter Saturday Health Fair.
Okay, great. Well, we're having an Easter Saturday Health Fair at Kwabenya with the Ga East Municipality. My name is Jonathan Ekwamwa. I'm with Team CSR Ghana. We are an NGO in Ghana that are in good standings. We do so many projects all over Ghana with our friends from the diaspora. We work with the President's Office of the Diaspora, the Ghana Tourism Authority. As diasporans come to Ghana, we want to make sure that they're doing things to help the people of Ghana as well. So with our diasporan friends, we've been able to build over 120 boreholes all over Ghana, providing access to safe drinking water for over 200,000 people. Our diasporan friends has helped us to be able to build schools, clinics, IT labs, all types of things all over Ghana. And so every Easter, what we do is we get our friends from the diaspora, other companies and business together, and we hold an Easter health fair. Okay. This is the third one that we're doing. The first one we did it at Denta for the Denta community. Last year we did Medina for Lakwanta, that area. And this year we're doing it at Kwabenya.
Okay.
Right at the Dome roundabout. There's a ballpark right there. We're holding a big Easter health fair. We're going to have free food, a bouncing castle for kids. We're having free NHIS sign up. So anybody that comes can actually sign up for NHIS free. We're paying for that. We're providing free hepatitis B checks, blood pressure, sugar, your eyes. We're having speeches by doctors on your spine and your back. So we're just providing so many things for people that are in need during the holiday. You know, some people, they're not traveling, they're home. So this is an opportunity for them to come and play, have fun with their kids, have food, drinks, and things like that, and also check on their health, which is very, very important.
Now, food is even exciting me more. Now I have another more reason to be there. And so it's happening when exactly?
It's Saturday, this Easter Saturday coming. It's from 8 to 12 noon. Again, it will be at Kwabenya, directly opposite the Atomic Police Station. And so last year we had thousands of people come. This year we're expecting a whole bunch of people again. Chame Kwame is our celebrity guest who's going to be there. Last year we had Reggie Rockstone. And so people are just supporting this initiative, you know, as we spend time in Easter with our families and make sure that people are checking up on their health. You know, it's very important to check for hepatitis B.
Okay.
And it's very important for the NHIS sign up.
Okay, you know. and the NHIS sign up is for everybody, no age limitation.
Everybody that comes.
Okay.
You can sign up for NHIS free. If your card is expired, we'll also pay for the renewal of your card as well.
Okay.
So NHIS will have their representatives there to do all of that. We have doctors from Kolebu and other places that will be there to check for blood, you know, the sugar and blood pressure. We have eye doctors that's going to be checking people's eyes for their eye and able to direct them to where they can go to get help for these specific things.
Do we have any special reason why you chose Kwabenya particularly?
Well, we're looking at doing different districts every year. You know, we did Adenta the first time, we did Medina the second time. This year is Kwabenya. We're trying to go all around, you know, the greater Accra area and just help as many people as we can. You know, we're very fortunate to have a lot of sponsors that are helping us from the States. You know, again, these D9 organizations, Alphas, Qs, Omegas, Sigmas, you know, Zeta, Sigma Gamma Rhos, AKAs, everybody's helping us, you know, to make sure that we are able to serve the community.
And it is from 8 a.m. to 12 noon?
Yes, ma'am. It's 8 a.m. to 12 noon. And again, that's Easter Saturday, right at Kwabenya, directly across from the Atomic Police Station.
We definitely know that place. I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be coming. I'm certain that somebody is watching us. Maybe an organization watching us and they want to support the vision for you helping at least or screening a lot more people, if not for Saturday, in the future endeavors that the CSR team is going to be undertaking. How can they get in touch?
Well, definitely we have a website. It's www.teamcsrghana.org. And they can also call us at 057-229-1549. As I said, you know, besides the health fair, we just do so much to help people all over Ghana. We build boreholes in the northern region, western region, central region, just to help villages that don't have access to safe drinking water, you know. And so we do this free, you know. So we're able to touch more than 200,000 lives of Ghanaians and really, you know, make an impact in communities. So we're really excited.
Mr. Jonathan Ekwama, thank you. This is an amazing stuff. We'll see you on Saturday then.
Thank you, ma'am.
All the best with it.
Yes, ma'am.
You're watching the AM show. Just a quick one. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Well, here we are back on the AM show, and this time we're going to be contemplating the Africa Caribbean Business Trade Show. and helping us talk about this event, which is slated for the 22nd and the 23rd of this month at the Labadi Beach Hotel. We have Richard Dazi Mensah. He's director of the Bahamas Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Health. We also have Mrs. Audrey Biney, Senior Program Director, APN, and Director, Smart Ghana Limited. And also joining the conversation, Kevoy Burton, Ghana Caribbean. He's a member of the Ghana Caribbean Association. He's actually president of the group. And I was just, teasing him earlier. I asked where he was from, and he said Jamaica, and I immediately went Wagwan. Yo, good to have you. Good to have you guys on the show.
Yes, thank you to having us.
Thank you. All right. So, just talking about this event, the Africa Caribbean Business Trade Show. What is it essentially? I'll start with you. Yes, Mrs. Biney.
Okay, so it's a show coming up, as you said, on the 22nd, 23rd of April. It's an opportunity to bring businesses from, in fact, it's not just Ghana, across Africa, merging that with businesses from the Caribbean. So what we're looking to do is emerging markets, link them with international markets, give businesses an opportunity to grow, to scale up, to gain new markets across the Caribbean. And the Caribbean community, they're ready. So they're coming to see us on the 22nd, 23rd. And we will be ready for them with our SMEs. We'll have policymakers, investors, entrepreneurs, business people. Everyone will be here to make that connection between the two. It's time that trade between the Caribbean and Africa escalates. At the moment, exports from the Caribbean to Africa is around about 1%. And from Africa to the Caribbean, it's about 0.1%. It's time we change that narrative. So it starts with this show, and it's just the beginning of many more to come across the continent.
So something else I'll say on that later in just a bit. But for you, Richard, as director of the Bahamas Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Health, I see you're also focusing, right? So Ghana, Bahamas, which feeds into the Caribbean concept. Why the Bahamas?
Actually, the Bahamas Ghana Chamber of Commerce was birthed through the ACTLCG, that is Afro-Caribbean Trade and Logistic Consulting Group. Okay. And then just as Mrs. Biney mentioned, so the Caribbean has been an engagement. We have been fighting and striving to connect, and then they have been also trying to identify their roots in Africa. And a major of them that we have encountered are looking at Ghana. And then being Ghana,
and for good reason too.
So coming to Ghana, we realized that, okay, this is a good initiative where you are looking back to your roots. We need to build something around it to make it more profitable, to make it more economic beneficial between these two regions. So we, the Bahamas Ghana Chamber of Commerce, is going to onboard SMEs to be trained and then to be built by the ACTLCG in terms of, in terms of trade engagement. We are focusing on SMEs to build the economic relationship between the Caribbean and then the African region. But the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, we all know and understand that Ghana always, we say, is the gateway to the African continent. Mm-hmm. And for that, we are having the the Bahamas Ghana Chamber of Commerce, making sure we are spearheading the Caribbean activities and then the Caribbean pioneering to innovate the trade activities.
I'm sure Kevoy will have his say on that situation. But he looks at the broader umbrella. So Ghana Caribbean, trade and all of that. I don't know how long you've manned this group, but in terms of the opportunities you see out there for trade between the Caribbean and Ghana, what are the openings?
So for me, I think that the openings are massive. For now, I know that there's an influx of people who are coming in from the Caribbean here, and they are looking to open businesses, and they're looking for something to export, something to import, whatever it is. So I know that, especially where export and import is concerned, there are a lot that Ghana has to offer to the Caribbean, and there's a lot that the Caribbean has to offer to Ghana. And I know that if we continue on this path, and I can tell you that even last week there was an upsurge of people applying for even Jamaican passports because they know that they can come to Africa now visa free.
Oh, wow.
So now they've extended the timeline that you have to wait.
They're trying to cut corners.
Yeah, because so I know that opportunities are here, and if you check even now, there are young people coming into Ghana now. So that you know that the market has been wide open now. So now people are coming with fresh ideas.
Yeah.
People are coming in with their new concepts, and they're coming to launch here, and they're coming to look how they can connect both territories together.
And I meet quite a number of Jamaicans from time to time. There's this eatery and airport, Ting Nice. From time to time we'll pass through and do some Jamaican.
Big up Ting Nice,
Yeah, free consultancy they should. For that. But in terms of looking at the bigger picture, what do you think, Mrs. Biney? How will this trade show impact the Caribbean and Ghana by way of trade? Like you mentioned, it's minuscule. If you look at the African continental free trade area as well, intra-African trade is a pittance. Ghana, for example, our major player is China, and then it trickles down. And with the Trump tariffs and everything, we have to look inward. So how will this trade show facilitate that? That's my question to you.
I mean, you mentioned the African continental free trade area. That is 1.3 billion people, and the African market is one single market now. I mean, there's a huge opportunity there to leverage on that opportunity that's come up. And I think that with the innovative drive of young people, looking at the wealth of resources in Africa, looking at what we actually have to offer, I think it's a fantastic opportunity. And, we are looking at increasing industrialization, our manufacturing, we're looking at value chain additions, we're looking at all the things that we can do with the Caribbean at the moment. I think there are huge opportunities there, and the Caribbeans they also have their strengths. I mean, we know about tourism, for instance. There are other services as well, which are strong in the Caribbean. I think the two regions can leverage off each other with what we have.
Richard, so what are you looking forward to? You have the nucleus of the Bahamas-Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Health. What do you think can be the standout benefits of having a trade show like this? What can we build upon with this?
We are looking forward to build upon a market that there's a cultural significance in what we are doing, and then there is unlimited potential. And then yesterday evening we were looking at the cultural, the markets, and then the unlimited potential. We realized that there is a cultural similarities between the Caribbean and then the Ghanaian or African region. And when we talk about, just as my colleagues mentioned, the potentials, the innovative activities being brought up by the young people in this region is overwhelming. And then now, where can we come together? Where can we sit so that these potentials can thrive? Then there's a need for a market space to be created, which we don't have. So we are using this as a launchpad whereby we can create the market. This is just the maiden edition of what we are having in this month, 22nd, 23rd. So the market is going to be created. Government organization, policymakers, and everybody is going to be there so that this activation will be huge and then live. And then from here, we believe that the market is live for every market.
Richard says this is going to be some launchpad, springboard, if you like. Kavoy, for you, what are your expectations?
Oh, for me, I think for me, the potential from this thing, it will open up the eyes of a lot of people. So we'll understand what the market is offering, we'll understand who are in the market, and we'll understand the players in the market. So I think for me, I think the ceiling is high, and we shouldn't limit our expectations, because then I feel like out of this, we can born many different opportunities for many different people who are coming. So people who are coming, they can have, maybe, like you said, it's a launchpad. So they can have a guideline as to how to do business within this region and within the Caribbean region, how to exchange business. And so I think, for me, I think it will just open a lot of doors for a lot of people who are coming.
All right. So just to conclude the conversation, when is it happening? I've mentioned it already, but just to reiterate, when is it happening? Where is it happening? Who can participate? Quickly.
Okay, so it's the 22nd and the 23rd of April. So that's just after the bank holiday coming up, Tuesday and Wednesday at the Labadi Beach Hotel. It's from 8 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. on the first day. On the second day, it's the same, but from 4:30 to 6:30, we also have a cocktail, which cannot be missed. It's the opportunity for B2B networking, entertainment. There'll be a big fashion show that we're planning to do so that we can showcase our apparel as well. It's an opportunity that, I mean, anyone who has a business who is looking to scale up and is looking for new markets outside of the region, this is an opportunity you mustn't miss. So we urge anyone with a business who wants to expand beyond domestic borders to get in touch with us. We still have some spaces, not many, we have limited spaces, but anyone who wants to exhibit, please come along. This is an opportunity that mustn't be missed.
It's an opportunity of a lifetime. We have to go, and I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining the conversation. We're going to chant down Babylon, no? Yeah. Anyway, it's all about the Africa Caribbean Business Trade Show taking place on the 22nd and the 23rd of this month at the Labadi Beach Hotel. You want to make a date. Those who joined the conversation, Richard Dazi Mensah, Director of the Bahamas Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Health, Mrs. Audrey Baini, Senior Program Director at the APN and Director of Smart Ghana Limited, and Kevoy Burton of the Ghana Caribbean Association. He's actually President of that entity. I'd like to say a very happy birthday to Ebenezer Sasu Bediako, a.k.a. Alaska, Director of Distribution at Ernest Chemist. The message, age graciously, and may the rest of your days and years be more fulfilling. And it's from our very own Sammy or Dami. That's the way we cap off this show this morning. My name is Benjamin Akakwa. I've done this together with Emefa Akosia Adeti. Joy News Desk is up next Tuesday.